John Bettman, the Rays are never losing again. Way to go, Johnny. Did you play?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
On this Tuesday, hope your week got off to a great start. Thanks for continuing it with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. How the heck are you? Thanks so much for being with us. Great show lined up for you. It's a terrific time of the year to be a sports fan. NBA playoffs get underway tonight. They call it the play-in. It's the playoffs. Two teams are, moving on. Two teams are, facing elimination. I mean, that sounds like playoffs to me. There's a baseball team that's never going to lose again.
162-0. They're on their way, David.
They will clinch a playoff spot by the All-Star break. They will clinch the division in early August. Ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Rays. And yet they will still manage to average 14,618 a game.
Boy, that's an accurate number, too. That's what's scary is that's so close to true. It stinks, too. And I mean, we get all the reasons why. I understand it. We're not going to go through it over and over again, but you wonder if the great start brings a few more people to the ballpark.
Okay, it's Easter Monday. So, I understand. It was the Red Sox, though. A small draw, right? I mean, probably a few thousand Red Sox fans that were in the ballpark last night, right?
Was always the second biggest draw. I mean, the Yankees are the number one draw. The Red Sox are the number two draw. Has been that way since the beginning of Rays baseball.
Now, I know morale amongst Red Sox fans is down right now. They're down on ownership. They're down on the team. But when you're within 100 miles and they're playing and you have a chance to see them, and let's face it, with how much spring training tickets cost these days, it's cheaper to go see them play the Rays.
And it's not close.
I mean, probably half price to go see them play the Rays. The only difference, cash not accepted, apparently. At the Trop, all right, cash still accepted at JetBlue in Fort Myers. But what's a fair over-under on last night's attendance? 9-0. They list capacity at 31,000, yet there was 25,000 on opening day. We all know nobody sits in the upper deck anymore. So
I think your number is a pretty good over-under number, 14 and change.
Okay, so 14, what did I go with? 14,618?
Something like that.
Okay, over-under 14,618 last night. What do you think it was?
I'd go under. I mean, I watched the game. It didn't look like there was 14,000 there.
13,470.
And I think that's counting a lot of empty seats that didn't show up as people, if you know what I mean.
Well, that is something that we're going to have to figure out, because when they announced the sellout on opening day and then attendance was listed as 25,025, it's kind of like, so is that 100% capacity? Because it's listed at 31,000. So which is it? And this is kind of like the NBA, so let me get this straight. You only have 85% attendance and yet MVP? I digress. So 10-0, baby. Brandon Lau with some heroics. He had struggled the first 8 games of the season. He's come through in a big way the last 2. That's what I like to see. Not only that, another game that moved.
I'll tell you what, I had stuff for the daughter last night. She had one of her games, so I was at a kid's softball game, and I got home. That sucker was already in the 6th inning by the time I got in the house last night. That thing was flying along.
Now, I will say, when there's no runs, and not many hits. The game should move along, but all right. Over under last night, 215.
Oh, it's under. I know that for a fact. I watched the game, so I know what the count was on that one last night. That's an under.
206. Second fastest Rays game this year. They played a 204 earlier in the year. And we talked about it too. The Rays have been, in the last 5 years, one of the 3 slowest teams in baseball. They have played some of the longest games on average. You know, they not only are competing with the Yankees and the Red Sox, they started acquiring all of their traits. And now, with the power pitching and good defense, no extra outs, let's move this sucker along. We've given up 18 runs in 10 games. I don't have to stand out in the field long at all.
18 runs in 10 games in today's Major League Baseball. Think about that for just a second.
Philly scored 15 last night.
Bingo.
All right, let's start making our plans in October, baby. Here's the only thing, and I'm not trying to pour a bucket of cold water, and I don't know, in the opening monologue, should we throw a touch of reality in? But when the Rays started 9-0, they matched the 2003 Kansas City Royals, last team to start 9-0. Well, the 2003 Kansas City Royals ended up winning 83 games. 83 and 79. I mean, that's cute. It's fun. That's not going to the playoffs. Now, with the win last night, Mark, the Rays are 10-0. You know, it was the last team to start a season 10-0?
With the 87 Brewers.
There you go, baby. That was a fun Brewers team. A rookie manager. Think about that, by the way. You're a rookie manager. They ended up winning their first 13 games of the year that year. How about that starting your major league career as a manager? 2 weeks in, you haven't lost. No, this ain't that hard. This is a lot harder in Double-A. That was the year Molitor had the 39-game hitting streak. Fun Milwaukee team after having a couple of rough years. They won 91 games. They finished in third in the American League East. Those were the days, baby. Those were the days. Milwaukee and Cleveland in the AL East. Yep. There's a whole generation of baseball. What the heck are you talking? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Cubs and Cardinals were in the NL East. Oh, yeah. It's a long story. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yet Cincinnati was in the NL West. It's going to take a while.
Right. With the Braves.
Correct.
So there have been 6 teams prior to this Rays team that have started a season 10-0 or better. The 87 Brewers, the 82 Braves, the 81 A's, the 66 Indians, the 62 Pirates, and the 55 Brooklyn Dodgers.
Well,
Brooklyn, the only one of those teams that would go on to win a World Series.
That was Brooklyn's only World Series title in 55. Okay. I don't know about the 2 teams in the 60s, but 81 A's, I believe that was Billy Martin. And they got off to a great start, and they won the West, and they made the playoffs. And I think they got beat in the LCS by the Yankees, ironically enough. That was the year in which the A's had like 90 complete games. You heard me correct. They had like 90 complete games. He took a 4-man staff and threw them into the ground. But they won the West and what have you. And then
the 82 Braves.
82 Braves. Joe Torre, rookie year, I believe, in Atlanta. Bob Horner, Dale Murphy.
Is that the America's Team year when they tried to play that off? They're on TBS and they're winning all those games, and that's when.
Yep.
they tried to get the nation on Braves fever, if you will.
Correct. The Superstation. Yep. It was TBS, WGN, WOR. The three of them were competing out of New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. No, we're the Superstation. We're the Superstation. Hell, there were more people watching those stations than watching ESPN.
Got that right.
In the early 80s, what were you watching ESPN for? Billiards? College hoops. That was it. This Dick Vitale seems fun. But we digress. Braves ended up holding off the Dodgers that year by a game. That was the only year Torrey and the Braves made the playoffs. I got swept by the Cardinals. So, 81 A's made the playoffs, 82 Braves made the playoffs, 55 Dodgers won the World Series. Okay, now we're talking. 87 Brewers, 91 wins. Nowadays, that gets you in. That was good for third place back then. Nowadays, you're in the playoffs.
It'd be a second wild card.
Damn right. Hell, might even be the first wild card. Might even host a series. Who knows? So, hey, Mark, took 10 games. They finally got a save. Fairbanks actually pitched in a pressure situation last night. This is a 1-run lead. What?
They got out of a jam. Was it in the 7th? They got out of a jam. I mean, it was a
good
entertaining
game.
Last few innings.
Yeah. One pitch, one swing, could decide it all. Rays made the swing. There you go, 1-0. Okay. So there you have it.
10-0, baby.
So is that the number we should put on the board? 14-6-18? That's our Rays over-under every night? They got to draw another 1,150 people tonight to go over. I mean, that's darn near a 10% increase in attendance.
And like a lot, there probably wasn't school yesterday. I know there wasn't around here, so that was an easier day to get out, at least for a few innings. But we shall see. I say if they keep winning, they'll start drawing more. I really believe that this great start will help them draw more fans this year.
Okay, what's your definition of keep winning? Is it number of games or is it length of time? I'm being serious.
No, I think it's length of time. I mean, now, regardless, when they lose, they're going to be 10-plus games over 500. They stay on that level. They stay in first place. I think that will help draw fans. People like the front runner, David. They really and truly do. It's a lot easier to get in love with the team that started out great than the one that's coming from way behind.
All I know is opening day was 12 days ago. They've got a 4-game lead in the division. I mean, at what point can I start talking magic number? That's what I want to know. Miller and Moulton. Got a lot going on the show today and a lot of guests. We'll tell you all about it next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. David, we got a text question. What year was it that the San Francisco Giants and Atlanta Braves each won 100 games and were in the same division?
93. The Braves won 104. The Giants won 103. Braves won the West. Giants stayed home. It was Bond's first year.
90 what?
93. Braves 104. Giants 103.
Well, there you have it. Is the FGCU kid calling us?
Yeah, on the hotline. Yep. Apparently he's shy, doesn't like talking about himself. So I'm just going to try to get him talking at the beginning. You know, he grew up kind of near Orlando. You know, why'd you choose FGCU? And then just kind of just get him talking a little bit. Yeah, FGCU plays tonight. We're going to have Brian Ellis is his name. He's going to be on at 9:00. Yeah, ambient. It will be interesting how long it's going to take him, in which people feel he's better than whether it's Crawford or Longoria. Curious what would happen to Crawford if he had stayed with the Rays, because clearly the big markets in Boston and LA freaked him out. Felipe's back Thursday.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Mark, I was off by a year. You're just joining the show. We were waxing poetically about how good the Rays have been with their 10-0 start. And Mark also brought up some of the teams who have started 10-0 or better here in the last 70 years. And you brought up, was it the 81 A's?
Yes.
And I said that was the year that they had 92 complete games. Not true, because that was a strike year. They only had 60 complete games that year. But then again, they only played 109 games.
Think about that. We don't get 60 in a season now, for crying out loud. I mean, combined.
Right. No, both leagues. Right.
Right.
Add it all up. Right. We might not get 60 complete games because that would average 2 per team. So the Oakland A's in 1980, Billy Martin's first year in Oakland, 94 complete games. He comes back the next year, same guys, 60 complete games out of 109. 57% of the games they pitched over that 2-year period, the starter went the distance. So basically in a 7-game series, 4 of the 7 games, no need for the bullpen to get warm.
Just what a different game baseball was. And not one pitcher was complaining about that, because they all want to keep the ball and they want to keep going. I mean, that's the day of the argument at the mound. They're coming to get the ball, and you're like, no, I can get one more, Skip.
Yeah, we were not that far removed from only 4-man rotations. I mean, we had advanced to a 5-man rotation by the early 80s. But Billy, had kind of the fifth link he wasn't necessarily crazy about. So, and if you looked, it was 4 guys who got the majority of the complete games. The fifth starter, he'd start 25 games a year, but he only complete 3, which, to Billy Martin, he might as well have been a bum. 3 complete games. I need 3 a month. So just imagine that. A team, 94 complete games, and then 60 the next year. Well, we only played 2/3 of a season. Oh, okay. So you were on pace for another 90. Yeah. Now, granted, those guys didn't pitch much longer. I mean, and that's not that much of an exaggeration. I mean, by 1983, those guys were shot. Boy, in 80 and 81, Mark, they were really good.
That is just crazy. The workload that they would put on and it's not just the ace pitchers, because it's the whole league. And obviously they were at the top of it, but everybody was throwing their starters in a similar fashion.
So there you have it. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. We're going to have a young man in the bonus hour, Brian Ellis. He has a chance to set a national record tonight. He's a 5th-year senior for FGCU, and he has reached base in 101 consecutive college baseball games. He's tied with a Texas Longhorn from back in the day. Mark, the streak started April 30th of 2021.
I wonder if he even was aware, like beginning the next season, if he was on a streak.
Well, we'll ask him. And for those that, don't get the bonus hour, maybe that's something you'll want to download, Florida, sportsnetwork.com. But Brian Ellis has a chance to set a national record tonight, and he's the leadoff hitter. And FGCU leads the nation in runs scored. So, he's guaranteed 5 plate appearances. And they're the home team, so he may get 6 if they're losing. So, if he reaches base tonight, he will set an all-time record. Just
a lot of pressure on Miller and Moulton to have him on the show today.
Well, there's no doubt.
Didn't want him tomorrow, huh?
Well, it's funny you say that. So I reached out yesterday and said we could do this Monday, Tuesday, or you could wait and see what happens, and we could have him on Wednesday, whether he set the record or the streak was snapped. And so I let them call it. And they said, let's do it Tuesday, 9:00. Now, here's the thing. You and I both know FGCU a little bit. You know why they did it today. They want to try to sell some tickets.
Of course they do.
They're not thinking about the kid in the show.
Not at all.
No, they're worried about, could we get 6 or 8 more tickets sold at $7 a pop?
I nominate for a poll question, will the Miller and Moulton jinx come into effect tonight? But I know what the vote will be. It'll be 100% yes. So there's no sense of putting the poll question up.
And we did have Dusty May on when they had the 20-game winning streak, and the next night it was snapped. And we said, wow, we're never going to get him on again. And he came on the show again, obviously, and he was like, no, I don't believe in that stuff. We're like,
thank goodness.
Okay. Because we thought that was it. And that's why when he kept coming on before every game in the NCAA tournament, we're like, wow, he really doesn't believe in this.
Not one bit. Let's hope Brian Ellis isn't superstitious as well. Right. Or if he is, that he gets on base tonight, he'll probably want to come on every day for the rest of his career.
Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the 8:00 hour to talk all things NFL. 16 days away from the draft. We'll try to go through lying season a little bit.
Phones ringing in Arizona, apparently.
It's funny. How does that get out? You don't think maybe Arizona called Adam Schefter, do you? Or maybe Schefter called them to check in, and they're like, oh, yeah, man, we've had at least 6 teams that, have inquired about trading up. Oh, really? Can I go with that? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. The telephone is ringing.
In fact, hold on, Chef. Got a call coming in now. Burner phone number 2. Hello.
Hey. Tell all the scouts to call me right now. I know they work for our team, but I need the phone to ring. I'm on with Schefter.
Schefter's calling at 9:15. At 9:16, all of you call. Extension 301, 302, 303, and 304. All of you.
I don't care that you sell tickets. Yeah, you get to call the GM today.
Hell, we're still paying Kingsbury. Have him call us too. So we'll get our football fix in with Pat coming up at the top of the 8:00 hour. We're a little over 30 minutes away from David Samson, who, besides the whole Rays 10-0 thing, you got players punching one another in the NBA. You got teams flat out tanking to miss the playoffs in the NBA. I'll bet you he's fired up today.
The blatant tanking, I thought about that all day yesterday, of what the NBA is going to do.
Well, it's Tuesday, and it happened Friday night.
They've
what
done
do you
nothing.
think they're going to do? Nothing. Well, no, that's not true, Mark. They've opened an investigation.
Right. How long does this investigation take? Don't I just have to show the post-game press conference?
Mark, you and your wife have one child, correct?
Correct.
If something happens in the house that is not supposed to have happened, how long does it take the two of you to conduct your investigation?
32 seconds.
There's a child and a dog, correct?
Yes. Couple of cats.
And it's true, the cats can jump up on things can get knocked over. Tough for the cats to move things, but yeah. So, okay, wife comes home from work at 6:30. When is the investigation complete?
6:31.
I mean, is this that much harder? We have Jason Kidd on tape and we have the video evidence.
If there's any doubt, we can show the game of when Luka left and the fact that Kyrie didn't play.
And then the starters who did start getting pulled with a 9-point lead mid-fourth quarter because no, we're tanking. We're losing tonight. But apparently the NBA moves a lot slower than you two do at your house, Mark. Starting five is next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, Rick Langford, Steve McCaddy, Mike Norris, Matt Keogh, the big four for the Oakland A's. Brian Kingman was the slouch of a fifth starter. And by slouch, I mean he only had like 10 complete games during those 2 years. Mark, can you hear me? Didn't think so. We're not his parents, but we know he's alive. He's scheduled to come back Thursday. He did send a text to us during the show yesterday.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 before the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson to join us just after the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Tony Fiorentino 2 hours from now. Heat. They're going to have a playoff run. It'd kind of help if it would begin tonight. We'll get to that in a moment. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
It's the Tampa Bay Rays world, and the rest of us are just living in it. They're 10-0. A Major League Baseball team had not done that since the Reagan administration. The 87 Milwaukee Brewers. Bob Uecker, Pat Hughes, by the way, doing the radio on the 87 Brewers. How's that for a good listen, huh? Milwaukee started off 13-0 that year. Rays are 10-0. Brandon Lau, solo homer in the 8th last night. That was enough. 1-0 over the Red Sox. Pete Fairbanks got the first save of the year. First game decided by less than 4 runs. 13,470 at the Trop. Got Shane McClanahan pitching tonight. Let's see if we can do a little better, okay? Rays looking to go 11-0. McClanahan making his 3rd start of the year. By the way, that 87 Milwaukee team won 91 games. Wondering just how it worked out. Right now, if you were to say, Mark, the Rays would win 91 games, it'd feel disappointing, wouldn't it?
I think so. I think every Rays fan's already thinking triple digits.
I was going to say that's going 81 and 71 the rest of the way. No, I'm not taking that. Even though it'd be a 5-game improvement over last year's team. Let's see. Mark, the Rays have given up 18 runs all year. The Phillies scored 15 last night, beating the Marlins 15-3. I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. The Marlins scored 3? That's pretty good for them.
3.5 is their over-under every night. Go under. Mets shut out the Padres 5-0. They finally figured out a way to beat Yu Darvish. He had owned them. Arizona, the Diamondbacks are 7-4. Thank you very much. 3-0 over Milwaukee. Zach Gallen with 11 strikeouts. Cardinals are off to a 3-7 start. Colorado beat them 7-4. Guardians edge the Yankees 3-2. White Sox 4-3 over the Twins. How about them Bravos? They blow a 9th inning lead, but Sean Murphy in the 10th says, I got you covered. I got you 2-run homer right here. 5-4 walk-off over the Reds. Cubs did the same to the Mariners, 3-2-10. Baltimore 5-1 over Oakland. Houston 8-2 over Pittsburgh. Texas, Andrew Haney struck out 9 consecutive batters. That ties an American League record. He's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a soft.
But it's a strikeout league.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Seaver and 2 other National Leaguers hold the all-time record of 10 consecutive strikeouts. Aaron Nola and Corbin Burns are the other 2 National Leaguers that have 10. 11-2 Texas over KC. Nats rallied to beat the Angels 6-4. Ohtani and Trout both held hitless. Dodgers 9-1 over the Giants. Max Muncy, who had been hitting him less than his weight, about $170 on the season. 2 homers, 7 RBIs. One of the homers, the salami. College baseball note tonight. We mentioned it a moment ago. Brian Ellis of FGCU leads off for the 15th ranked Eagles tonight when they host FAU. If he gets on base tonight, he'll set the new NCAA all-time record of reaching base in 102 consecutive games. We'll let you know tomorrow how he does. You'll hear from him at the beginning of our bonus hour at 9 o'clock this morning. NBA playoffs, Mark. Do you feel they get underway tonight, or is this play-in kind of like the first 4 in Dayton?
This is like the first 4 in Dayton to me.
Okay.
Because I think you could walk around to sports fans, not NBA fans, and say, explain the play-in. How does it work? And most wouldn't know.
Well, very quickly, top 6 teams in each conference make the, quote, playoffs. 7 plays 8 and 9 plays 10 in a 1-game play-in. Whoever wins the 7-8 game, they get seeded 7th. So tonight, when the Heat host the Hawks, the winner will be the 7 seed. They will face Boston, the 2 seed, in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The loser of the 7-8 game hosts the winner of the 9 versus 10 game. The 9-10 games will take place tomorrow. By the way, out west, the Lakers are an 8-point favorite tonight when they host the T-Wolves, who will be without Rudy Gobert because Gobert punched a teammate in the regular season finale on Sunday. And the T-Wolves said, yeah, we can't let that stand. I got to admit, Mark, he punched him in the chest. I mean,
right?
It was wrong. Also, here's the other argument. Like, they were having a spirited debate yesterday on NBA radio. If you suspend Gobert, okay, it's quote unquote the right thing to do. But you know who it punishes? The rest of his teammates.
Well, the other side of it is that Jaden McDaniel punched a wall.
Correct.
Right before Gobert punched his teammate. McDaniel, I think, got a second foul, was going off and punched a wall and broke his hand, fractured his hand. He's a good defender.
Yeah, they need him, especially with Gobert out.
Right, and his job is to guard this LeBron guy.
Right. And
where he's actually done a really good job guarding LeBron in the games they've played. And now he's not playing, and there's no Gobert.
Correct. And that's why the spread is 8, even though the T-Wolves have beaten the Lakers 2 out of their 3 meetings this year. Miami, by the way, went 3-1 against the Hawks. Heat a 5-point favorite tonight. So the 2 winners tonight go in as the 7 seeds. That means that the winner tonight in the East would play Boston. The winner tonight in the West would play Memphis. The losers tonight will host the winners tomorrow night. There'll be a quiz at the end of the show. WNBA draft was last night. 12 teams in the league. They only have 3 rounds. So 36 players get drafted. 5 of them were from South Carolina, 3 in the first round, including Aaliyah Boston, who went first overall to Indiana. South Florida had 2 players drafted last night, both in the second round. Elena Sinecki was taken by Washington, and Duli Fankum Mindajadu was taken by Seattle. Miami's Destiny Harden. She had the big shot late in the Sweet 16 win. Destiny Harden was taken in the 3rd round by Phoenix. NHL. Panthers lost, but they got a point. They lost in overtime to Toronto 2-1. Valuable point because the team they were tied with, the Islanders, lost at Washington. Gave up 2 goals in the first 63 seconds of the game. Slept walk and got beat 5-2. What does it mean? Panthers control their playoff fate. In fact, could make the playoffs tonight if the Penguins lose in regulation to the Blackhawks, which is unlikely, but still. So the Panthers have 92 points with 1 game left. The Islanders have 91 points with 1 game left. Pittsburgh has 90 points with 2 games left. Florida and Pittsburgh control their fate. The Islanders need help. Panthers don't play again till Thursday when they host Carolina, which could be a huge game because Carolina lost at Ottawa last night 3-2, and now the Hurricanes division leads down to a point over New Jersey. So the Hurricanes are trying really hard to blow this division. Panthers are trying really hard to make the playoffs. And those 2 teams could be facing one another in the first round of the playoffs. Buffalo beat the Rangers in a shootout 3-2. Dallas 6-1 over Detroit. Joe Pavelski scored his 1,000th point. Do you know he was one of 2 players last night to reach 1,000 career points? Claude Giroux did it for Ottawa in the 3-2 win over Carolina. First time in NHL history, 2 guys reached 1,000 points on the same night. That's a pretty big number.
It's a really big number.
Is that like baseball? Is that 1,000 points? We put you right in. You're a Hall of Famer. I mean, Joe Pavelski, Claude Giroux, both very good players for a long time. Is that like a Craig Biggio getting 3,000 hits?
You know what? I don't know, David. I've never really, me in Halls of Fame,
right? But
that they don't sound like Hall of Famers to me.
I'm with you, but 1,000 points, and that's a point a game for like 13 years. That's not bad.
You're right.
Winnipeg beat San Jose 6-2, combined with Nashville beating Calgary 3-2 in a shootout. A, it eliminates Calgary. B, it all but puts Winnipeg in the playoffs. They have a 3-point lead over Nashville for the final playoff spot. Both teams have 2 games left, and both teams are playing Minnesota and Colorado. The difference is Winnipeg's playing them on the road, and Nashville's playing them both at home. 1 point by the Jets, and they're in the playoffs. Minnesota doubled up Chicago 4-2. Wild are in 3rd place, 2 points behind Colorado and Dallas for the division title. The Kraken have reached 100 points. They're on a roll. In fact, they may play themselves out of a wild card and into a first-round playoff series against Edmonton because they could finish in 3rd place and overtake the LA Kings, who shut out Vancouver last night 3-0. Kings are 2 points ahead of the Kraken, but the Kraken own the tiebreak and have a game in hand. NFL news, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the quarterback coach at USC. Arizona says they've had 6 teams call them trying to trade up for number 3. Yeah, okay. You've got one of the 5 worst rosters in the league. I mean, then if that's the case and you don't trade the pick, I may have to fire you and you just got the job. Buffalo, by the way, announces they're re-signing Shaq Lawson. He only had 3.5 sacks last year for him.
David, with Arizona, would you, and we can talk about this more, would you take is it just the one that gives you the most picks, or do you want to only move back far enough that you can still get one of the top defensive players and picks?
Oh, yeah. If I'm Arizona, I want to trade down 3 times.
And just keep acquiring talent.
Yeah. I mean, I'll trade with Indy. You want to swap? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Give me a 3rd this year and a 4th next year. Yeah, fine. That works. For 2 thirds. Yeah, whatever. I'll move back to 4. Then if somebody wants to trade up, get ahead of Seattle and Detroit, not knowing what they're going to do, yeah, that's fine. Like maybe the Raiders want to trade up from 7 to 4. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. And then I can trade again. Absolutely.
It certainly seems that we're going to have a lot more dealing going on with this draft. With already one big trade being made and talk of another, and these quarterbacks could go 1, 2, 3, 4, which is just nuts to me. But you're right, David. This could be your draft, if you know what I mean.
Let me ask you this. If Philadelphia called and said, we'll give you 10 and 30, we want to move up to 3. Did you do it? You're Arizona? I can't believe you haven't said yes already.
More than likely.
And there's talk that Philly may dangle that second first-round pick to move up, especially if they get their hands on a specific edge rusher, maybe. So I think Arizona's going to be trading out. Did you hear about this lawsuit that was filed by the family of Dwayne Haskins?
Yes.
Haskins was killed almost a year to the day when he was hit by a dump truck crossing I-595 in South Florida. His family filed a lawsuit against 4 individuals, 2 restaurants, a golf driving range, and a hotel yesterday. They alleged he was drugged as part of a blackmail conspiracy. I mean, I'm not kidding. This is a Dateline NBC if this is true. So there's that. And NASCAR. It's funny. I wrote NASCAR down on the sheet. And I know they suspended a driver yesterday. All right. Who'd they suspend? Ware. Yeah. Okay. They suspended Cody Ware indefinitely because he was arrested on charges of assault on a woman. And he strangled her to the point where she suffered a serious injury. So there's that. At 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So David Samson coming up in less than 10 minutes. Got a lot going on. Undefeated Rays, NBA playoffs, or at least play in, 16 days away from the draft. Chance for some history in baseball tonight. Hockey season's got less than a week left. Sign me up, baby.
You mentioned it. It was a big point for the Panthers. It wasn't 2, but it was a monster point. 3rd period goal to tie it. David Samson coming up next. Cards or FLGolfCarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Ambien, I like both home teams tonight.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Yourself?
How's it going? How's the new, I know it's most of the same old, but it's just at a new home. How's it going?
It's good. I mean, it's definitely, they know how to promote shows a little better than CBS did. So I'm already happy with that. I think we're up 42% since we started.
Wow.
So we expected maybe 5 to 10% bump, and we haven't even been in their feed yet. So it's been good that way. And the shows are good. So things are good. How you guys doing?
We're okay. Our shows are good.
You guys do have good shows. There's no doubt about that.
We need a little help with the network, but the shows are good.
Are you still aiming for middle of the year?
Well, the big thing we were working on fell through.
Okay. So
now we're having to pick up the pieces, and now we're going to kind of have to do some guerrilla door-to-door marketing ourselves. We're basically, after a year and a half of letting the people with corner offices do things and not having success, we said, tell you what, can you give us 100 days? Next 100 days are kind of crucial. We need some affiliates to pick us up before football season. How about if you let us try? Since you guys are 0 for 18 months, how about if you give us 100 days?
Okay. I'm sure they wouldn't argue with that.
No.
So we're...
What day are you in currently?
Probably day like 7.
Okay. It'll go quick.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It will, but
can't be worse. All right, I'm switching this back over.
Well, anything I can do, sales call, whatever, let me know. Happy to help.
Well, you're mentioned on our, list as a regular guest.
That is true. It is regular.
listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And the top of the 7 o'clock hour on a Tuesday means it's time for David Samson, he of the Daily, 8 a.m. live, Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast. He's on the Dan Le Batard Show weekly. He does a weekly sports business podcast with John Skipper. He's still talking baseball occasionally on CBS Sports HQ. And he's foolish enough to do this 12 minutes once a week. David, good morning. How are you?
How are you? I don't want to waste 1 minute with platitudes, but I'm good.
Fair enough. Then let's get right into it, because I know your stories have stories, and Rudy Gobert punched a teammate. They're suspending him. This is an interesting situation because they're hurting their own team by suspending a player. If this was February, it's a really easy decision. Just how tough is this decision? And do you have any similar stories in your time with the Marlins of infighting in the clubhouse?
Yeah, we had a lot of infighting. A lot of it was around Hanley Ramirez. Hanley was such a great player on the field, but difficult. There were times when he didn't hustle, and we had to talk as a front office and then with the manager and then as a team, what are we doing about this? And the only reason we're having the conversation is that he's good. If he were not a good player, it was a very fast meeting, release, trade immediately. With Rudy Gobert, they have so much invested in him. They did that 10-person trade, 10 for 1. He's getting paid a ton of money. He's not going anywhere, and they don't want to look bad as a front office. So they've got to find a way to not just save face in the locker room, but also to make sure they don't completely ruin Rudy Gobert, either mentally or in terms of how the market perceives him. So this was an easy call for me. I thought they would not suspend him. I thought they'd come out and say, we've had a team meeting. We're going to deal with this, but we've got a game to win. What it means to me that he got suspended is that the team got together and worked with the front office and said, we don't want him. We cannot have this here no matter what. And the front office said, we're going to go with you on this because we do have 2 chances to win 1 game. So we're going to have him out for the first game against the Lakers.
T-Wolves at Lakers tonight. If they lose, they will host the winner of the 9-10 game tomorrow night. So that's why they have 2 bites at the playoff apple. You mentioned Rudy Gobert. They gave up 4 first-round picks and 10 players overall. He seems to be the guy, and I'm guessing Ramirez was this a little bit also. He's the guy that he's like Patrick Reed on the PGA Tour. Nobody seems to like Rudy Gobert. Donovan Mitchell didn't like him in Utah. He's the guy that everybody is seemingly barking at in Minnesota. But because they gave up so much for him, David, it's almost like he might be the last one standing and they get rid of everybody else.
Yeah, I don't want to underestimate to you all what a front office goes through when they make a trade or a signing. They will make so many accommodations so they don't look bad. They will bend over 2, 3 times a lady. Anything. That was a song reference for the people who aren't boomers here. They will do anything not to have to say, man, we got that one wrong. And when it's such a big trade like the Gobert trade, they're going to do more than just a few things to make sure it works. It is the hardest decision I ever had to make as a president is when do you cut bait? When do you say, all right, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze and we're going to get rid of the talent? A talentless player, that's an easy one, as I said. But when they're productive, that's a little more difficult.
Well, if the front office is a brick house, it's a lot easier to stand tall through these times.
God, that's so bad. So bad.
I know, but you go Lionel Richie, you had to go right to the Commodores and keep it right in the family there, David. Rays are off to a 10-0 start. Just how do you think this will help them draw? They've never drawn fans. Do you think this does anything to get out to a big lead, the front runners? Do you think this helps them from a non-baseball standpoint at all?
So no, and I'll explain why. Baseball is strange in that there is a lagging indicator of performance and attendance-based revenue. If you're good 1 year, then the next year you can build your season ticket base and talk about the excitement of the team. The Rays have been unable to do that because they've been consistently good because of the ballpark location, the fact that the perception is that the payroll is low, that there's always a stadium issue, that they could be moving to Montreal. They're going to split their time in Montreal. It's been very hard to form a long-term relationship with any of the fans in Tampa. But for normal teams, when you do well in this year, that means you can sell that into next year. So by getting off to a 10-0 start, there are not going to be another 3,000 season ticket holders who will sign up. Maybe you'll get a few more group sales, but generally not. Those are not performance related. How about a few more walk-up sales? Sure, maybe another 1,000 a game, 2,000 a game. So their attendance could go up by maybe 100,000, at most, or 8. So it's really not a huge thing. That said, the Rays are a very good team, but I think the fans recognize what baseball does, which is they have not exactly been playing a hard schedule as of yet. They are doing what they're supposed to do, but it is so early that I hesitate for all of your audience to say that they are going to break the record and win 120 games.
Red Sox were the first team that they played this year that was not at the bottom of their division. They were at least a 500 club. The Rays at 9-0 start against the Tigers, the Nats, and the A's. All right. Miller and Moulton freaked out a little bit. I think me a little more than Mark, but it's catching up with Mark. What the Mavs did Friday. There's tanking, and then there's tanking when you're still very much in the playoff race. And then there's publicly announcing that you're tanking when you're still very much in the playoff race. We're of the belief that if Adam Silver in the league doesn't come down hard on the Mavs, I mean, I'm of the belief, and quite frankly, Adam Silver needs to find another line of work. To me, this cuts at the integrity of the entire league. This isn't load management. This is franchise management. And quite frankly, I would suspend Mark Cuban for a year. What would you do if you were running the NBA? Are we at a line here? Or did you take a look at it as somebody who was in pro sports for a generation and go, what the heck?
So I did a whole segment on this in Nothing Personal yesterday. Let me tell you where I stand, and let me tell you why I stand there. I believe it is very different when you go into a season, you've cut your payroll, and you are rebuilding your team, and you are realizing that this is not your window to compete. Therefore, you are not going to have a competitive club on the field. Call it whatever you want. That is the normal operating procedure of a well-run team. Knowing when you're going to win and knowing when you're going to lose. The next step of a good front office is when the season starts, you see whether or not you were wrong or you were right about what you thought your team was. And if you were wrong and your team is good when you thought it would be bad, you have the right to add to that team at the deadline and try to sneak in a playoff appearance because it doesn't ruin your rebuild as long as you don't ruin your rebuild. And that's okay. I'm in on a mid-season evaluation. The Dallas Mavericks went all in midseason and brought in Kyrie Irving as a rental. Unless they had an extension already done with him, which they didn't, they traded a ton of players at the deadline for what became a 2-month rental. It was a total disaster. So if you're watching this Mavericks team and you're Mark Cuban, you're saying the best we can do is the play-in. That's even not the playoffs. And then we've got to win and then see if we can beat the Nuggets in theory. Or if not the Nuggets, then maybe the Grizzlies. So we have to figure out what do we do here? Here's the problem. There's 3 games left in the season. You still have a prime year. This is Luka. You have a trade with Kyrie where together it has not been working, but it could snap into place at any time, and you could get hot during the playoffs. And you have your coach speak publicly about what you're doing. That was my problem. If you're going to not play anymore, then you just keep it to your damn self. But instead, he forces Adam Silver to do a suspension or do a major fine, loss of pick, because he embarrassed the NBA. It went right to the competitive integrity, as you said. Generally, guys, you're allowed to run your team however you want to run your team, but keep your mouth closed.
Is it worse now, David, because gambling is legal in so many states? The teams and leagues are taking money from gambling entities. Does it make it worse in the fact that, they tanked 2 games? This is now even a different part of it with gambling.
So no, because the lines reflect who's playing. That's why you're seeing, I think it was Malik Bridges where it came out. He's going to play 4 seconds to get his consecutive game streak, and then he's going to be pulled out. Or with Luka, he's going to play the first quarter, and then he's going to be pulled out. And what the gambling people do, the lines makers, is they take that all into account and make the line. So if you are telling everybody that everybody's playing, and then everybody suits up, and then all of a sudden they don't play at all, that's when you're messing with the gambling integrity. But the NBA and baseball and football are very serious about teams doing that. As a matter of fact, funny enough, if Cuban had done it that way, where no one had said a word, and then all of a sudden they get on the court and they announce the starting lineups, and there you see on the bench Luka and Irving and everybody else, and out goes Miller and Moulton and Samson, right? And they're starting, and there's no time for the lines to change. I think you'd have a bigger problem.
Very interesting. He's David Samson, 8 a.m. weekdays. He does his Nothing Personal with David Samson live, and find it in the places where you find your podcast. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson. Have you ever seen, though, anything like that done in the last 25 years in professional sports? A public announcing that we are tanking while we're still very much in the playoff race. I mean, Reinsdorf took a lot of grief with that White Sox team when they were like right before the trade deadline and they were 500. They were 5 games out of the playoffs. And he said, yeah, we're a 500 team. We're not any good. And he took a lot of grief for that. But nothing ever happened to him. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, he got pilloried, right, in his own media and by his own fan base. So something did happen to him, just not officially from Selig. But that's a great example. But no, we've seen load management in the NBA. We've seen players take games off. We've seen teams try to win or lose to change their seed, to change who their opponent is. That is all part of the game, and I'm all in for all of that. The real question the NBA has to be asking itself is, why are teams devaluing the regular season as much as they are? And why have we made it so it's better to be in a play-in tournament than not? And the reason goes back to what gets traded now, which didn't happen 25, 30 years ago. They're called lottery protected picks. None of this is happening if the Mavs had traded away their pick and they could never get it back. But in the NBA, you're allowed to trade a pick away, and then it's lottery protected. So if by chance you're not in the playoffs, the team has to give it back to you. That's why the Mavericks chose to get the pick back and not get into the play-in tournament. So I think if you eliminate that rule, no getting trade picks back that you've traded, that would eliminate what the Mavericks did.
He's David Samson. In 45 minutes, he'll be live doing his daily Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast. He joins us Tuesdays at this time here on Miller and Moulton. David, appreciate your time and your insight. Have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Follow David on Twitter at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. Joining us once again on Miller and Moulton. By the way, Pat Kirwan just canceled. He'll be on tomorrow. All right.
You can't do that. Only we can do that.
Something just came up very suddenly. So no football fix with Pat today. We'll do the football fix tomorrow. Miller and Moulton. Still have Tony Fiorentino coming up on the show next hour. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
She's a brick house.
Were you talking to me?
No, I was just singing She's a Brick House. It's funny. I'm glad you said Lionel Richie because for some reason I thought it was one of the songs that Lionel wrote for Kenny Rogers. And I'm like singing it to myself. And for some reason I had Kenny Rogers in my head. And then you went Lionel Richie and I went, oh, he's right. Thank goodness.
I just think of Eddie Murphy as Buckwheat doing once, twice, three times a matey.
And he saved Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
That show fell apart quickly and was dead. Don't look now, folks. The Lakers won 6 of their last 7 and 9 of 11. And the only game they lost in the last 2 weeks was when they had to play back-to-back nights.
The Clippers.
If you actually take a look at their roster, their GM had a really good trade deadline. If their two big guys stay healthy, they're actually a real pain in the butt. It's funny, these guys who are not used to playing every game are now going to have to play every game. Don't you think guys are going to A, get hurt and or B, fall apart?
Yes, I do.
Johnny, I think our society's so splintered that you could argue just play to your splintered group.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Kirk McKnight will join us on the show tomorrow. He's the author of a new book titled The Voices of Baseball. It drops, if you will, tomorrow. I think, Mark, he made his first radio interview promoting this book may be us.
Wow, look at that.
I know.
And I was in a bookstore yesterday. I could have gone tomorrow and bought the thing.
Okay. Which do you frequent more infrequently, a bank or a bookstore?
A bookstore. I'd go to the bank, probably have to go inside once every 60 to 90 days.
And that's more than a bookstore?
That's the first time I've been in a bookstore in years.
Can I ask?
My daughter's best friend's birthday is today.
Okay.
And she's a very smart young girl. And we think a lot of this young lady. So we went and her favorite thing to do is read. So we went and bought some books for her birthday.
Awesome.
I feel I'm not giving the surprise away because I know for a fact that she's not listening.
And mom or dad not listening either? We're pretty solid?
Not a chance.
Okay, good. So Kirk McKnight will join us tomorrow. Pat Kirwan, as it turns out, will also join us tomorrow. And tomorrow's the Seth Everett day. So jam-packed hump day. Tony Fiorentino is going to join us in about an hour. The NBA play-ins, kind of like Dayton in the first four of the NCAA tournament. Heat and Lakers are the home teams tonight. Heat favored by 5, Lakers by 8. Miami hosting Atlanta, Lakers hosting Minnesota. Miami took 3 or 4 from the Hawks in the regular season for whatever that's worth. But Minnesota took 2 out of 3 from the Lakers for whatever that's worth.
But the Lakers, with their moves at the deadline, the way they've been playing down the stretch, there are a lot of people think that the Lakers are a very dangerous team heading into the postseason. The Heat are going to have to find a switch to flip to become the dangerous team that they were a year ago in the postseason.
Winner tonight enters the playoffs as the 7 seed. That means in the East, the winner tonight plays Boston. Out West, the winner plays Memphis. Steven Adams not coming back for Memphis. They could have used him if they're matched up with Anthony Davis and the Lakers. I'm telling you, Mark, I think the West has a chance to be the NCAA tournament, where we had a 4, 2 5s, and a 9 in the Final Four. I'm telling you, all blank could break loose out West.
Well, Phoenix is the 4.
Uh-huh.
That's the team that most people think has would you say they're the favorite right now?
Yes. And it's put an asterisk next to Kevin Durant, if he can stay healthy. And, we usually talk about injuries more with football than any other sport. But, Mark, how do we not talk about injuries / the softness of the current NBA? Guys don't play 80% of the games anymore. Honestly.
Think about it from this standpoint, and I'm going to try to bring football in a loose way. Think of the heat that Lamar Jackson's taken.
Right.
For not playing in that playoff game. People thought he could have played. He's had to come out and defend his injury to a knee, saying things are still moving around in there. Now, take whatever side you want, but he's been killed for this. The NBA player with load management, anytime that they're dinged up, they take off days. We get it in the regular season. That's fine. Let's accept that as the new way. Whether you like it or not, that's the way the game's played. But in the postseason, we demand a little more out of our players. These guys now are going to have to play with bumps and bruises that they really didn't play with much in the regular season. Will they be able to? Will they?
And quite frankly, will some of the players who are seemingly always injured? Kevin Durant's been injured twice this year. Twice. He's missed 3 or more weeks twice this year. It's 2 months between the beginning of the playoffs and the NBA Finals. I mean, can you really count on your star players to stay healthy for 2 months? I mean, Anthony Davis of the Lakers?
Hell, LeBron, who's been healthy his whole career, he's getting banged up as he's getting older. He's not been able to play consistently without taking a day off here and a day off there. And if the Lakers are going to make this run, they need him to play every game at a high level.
And we could go, right on down the list. I mean, goodness knows Embiid has to play for the Sixers. Giannis only played, was it 63 games this year? I think he missed 19 games. I mean, think about that. He missed basically 1 out of 4 games this year. And Giannis did not suffer a major injury during the season. That's just all load management. And now you're going to have to play. And the other thing is, a lot of these teams are really good during the regular season. They only play their guys about 32, 34 minutes. Playoffs, 42 minutes. Every other day, 2 months. Let's go. Mark, I know they ratcheted it up in hockey, but guys don't miss games in hockey unless you're injured. Nobody takes a night off, they're banged up. Seriously?
They don't take a shift off in that sport when they're banged up, David. I mean, come on. You take a slap shot in the ankle, you skate off the ice, and you play your next shift. That's just the way that you can't compare the sports. They're not the same.
But but there is an intensity level that is clearly at a higher level, if not 3 higher levels, beginning in a week from now, with all the hitting that will take place, and most of it doesn't take place during the regular season. But I mean, to go from NBA regular season intensity and NBA regular season missing 1 out of every 4 or 5 games to, oh, by the way, you're going to have to play 10 more minutes a night, and you're going to have to play every night. Oh, yeah. And the level of play and intensity going to be a lot more. I mean, can these guys do it? Is this going to be more like hockey and football, in which it's like, well, if so-and-so's healthy, but sure enough, halfway through the playoffs, guess what? Because, yes, Mark, Phoenix is the team that right now everybody goes, if everybody's healthy, Phoenix is the best team. Durant or Chris Paul get hurt, which they seemingly do every playoff run the last 5 years. What happens to the Phoenix Suns?
They're done. They can't win 4 series without their stars. Might be able to win a series.
I mean, Houston was 1 game, and this seems like forever ago. I think it was 5 years. Houston was a game away from taking out Golden State when they were a dynasty. They're up 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. Guess what happened? Chris Paul got hurt. A shell of himself the final 2 games. Golden State gets out of the Western Conference Finals and wins the NBA Finals.
I will say that's the team nobody's talking about entering the playoffs. And I know they were terrible on the road all year long, and there's not a lot of reasons to talk about them, but there's still championship pedigree there.
You mean Golden State, who got Sacramento, the team they wanted?
Uh-huh.
So apparently, ABC/ESPN has had the rights to the NBA for, 20 years now. This will be Sacramento's first game on ABC since the George W. Bush presidency. I think during this entire playoff drought, Sacramento has not played a game on ABC. Saturday night in prime time is Golden State at Sacramento. Have you seen what the ticket prices are going for to get in the arena in Sacramento?
Through the roof, I would imagine.
Mark, I don't think $500 gets you into the nosebleeds.
For a Sacramento Kings basketball game. Hello. Good for them.
Yeah, totally. How do you not root for them? Well, Steph Curry's on the other team. That's how you don't root for him. But you get where we're going. Miller and Moulton. Tony Fiorentino. A little more NBA talk 1 hour from now. Thanks so much for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, RCB, we know that. But what we're talking about is that can you just, the difference in the NHL is that the guys play most every night. So they're used to playing most every night. Now, they'll play harder in the playoffs. It's far more physical. And the elite players will play more minutes. But we're just making the point. It seems as if it's going to be a much bigger ramp up for the NBA player now in the postseason from the regular season than it is even in hockey. Deadstroke, I'm with you, but if KD gets hurt, he got hurt in the layup line. I mean,
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before top of the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tony Fiorentino, 1 hour from now. Brian Ellis will join us at the top of the bonus hour. He's trying to set a new NCAA record for getting on base. He's done so 101 consecutive games. This ties the all-time record. If he does so tonight, he plays for FGCU. They're hosting FAU. He's a leadoff hitter. If he gets on base tonight, he'll own an NCAA record that will take someone 2 years to break. I mean, think about that, Mark. This isn't like scoring, 64 points in a game or driving in 9 runs or something like that. Oh, really? How long's the streak? It's over 100. Well, we only play like 55 games a year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he'll know if someone's coming up on the record.
Right.
Like this kid in Texas who has the record, I'm sure has been aware of it for a few, or man in Texas, because the record's old. But someone's probably let him know here in the last week, hey, your record, there's a chance there's a kid in Florida that might break it.
And, we're guessing that 99% of our audience that will be listening doesn't know anything about Brian Ellis. So we're going to try to get you to know a little bit about the young man. By the way, somebody just mentioned our Twitch chat room, his walk-up music. What would your walk-up song be?
It would change. It would change. It would change constantly.
So, all right. So an 0 for 5 and a new song? Would you be that?
Sure. For sure. Off the top of my head, Peace Frog by the Doors would be a great walk-up song.
Okay. I would probably do Running with the Devil because I love the long instrumental lead in. All right. So
how much time do you have for a walk-up song anymore?
Well, I can move pretty slowly. I mean, in theory,
but with pitch clock and everything else that's going on, you don't have a lot of time.
Well, I don't think it starts like I don't think you have to race from the dugout to the box, do you? I mean, I thought it starts in theory, they throw you make the out and then they throw the ball around a little bit, what have you. I don't think it starts till the pitcher gets on top of the mound. So like the pitcher, I think can, take a few seconds and, grab the rosin bag and can go for a walk. And, I think the pitcher can buy 10 to 15 seconds. And I think.
All right, this is a twofold. And I do want the texters at 21,000 to chime in with, you can give us what your walk-up song would be, but you can pick walk-up songs for Miller and or Moulton. Because if you put your song in, that's great. I don't know how much it adds to our show. I'll read it and I'll laugh and you may come up with a great song, but you may have ideas for Miller and Moulton for what their walk-up songs should be. And I think that could add a lot more creativity to this little program that we do every day.
Oh, I dread these answers like maybe no question that we've ever asked before. Oh, man. Letting our audience determine what our walk-up song should be. Oh, man, are we asking for it? That's fair, though. That's fair. 21,000. All right. If you've never sent us a text before, this might be the question that finally gets you to do so. So you need to type in FSN radio to 21,000 to get in that first text. But like there's a college coach that you and I are fond of. He's a big rocker. Yeah. He probably would alternate as well from one Iron Maiden song to the next.
Right, into some Queensryche, into some other metal that we're not even aware of right now.
Right. Also, do you go with the popular stuff from an artist that you like, or do you go with, the B-side, if you will?
Well, and I was trying to think of what Broadway song would be a great walk-up song for you with your love of the theater, David.
Boy, I'm going to have to think about that.
For either of us, if they wanted to play the Fat Boys Are Back, it'd be, there's a lot of directions you could go in with walk-up songs. But I'm way too superstitious. It would change constantly.
And I am literally singing one Broadway song after another in my head. I would probably pick something from a chorus line because it's my favorite Broadway play. But I also have songs from West Side Story and Pippin going through my head right now. So
it's good to know. It's good to know.
So just, things like that. What's your walk-up music?
21,000 is the text line, 21000. As David mentioned, if you've never texted the show before, FSN Radio is the keyword. FSN Radio.
One of the suggestions, my guess is for me, because I'm the fat one on the show, is Cheeseburger in Paradise. Maybe be a song. Don't you think it'd have to be Double Cheeseburger in Paradise? But all right, it's solid though.
Well, that's when someone basically enacted a commercial ad for you, David. Not a song, but when David steps in the box, pizza comes over the PA.
A Little Caesars ad? Pizza, ban.
Your love of the Royals, not Kansas City, but the song Royals by Lorde is another one that someone has suggested for you, David.
Which, by the way, would be great also because I went to the University of Scranton and they're the Royals. So that works even better than you thought. Did you see in our Twitch chat room, Rough Tough Powder Puff recommended your song Tainted Love, mine, the Sanford and Son theme?
Sanford and Son theme is a great walk-up song. You could just, between that and the Barney Miller, you could just switch from one to the other and you'd be fine.
Totally. Throw in a little WKRP in Cincinnati. All right, I think we're set. I'm with you, though. I'm pretty superstitious. Certainly, 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in college. And if Friday and Saturday didn't go well, the Sunday 1 o'clock game, definitely a new song. They would hate us, by the way, because, they've got all that stuff. And then, we'd be going up there an hour before the game. And it's like, no, got to change my song. And they'd be looking, hey, seriously? I got to go into the computer. I got to change. Really? Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you do. We have new walk-up music today. I'm on an 0 for 10 streak right now.
Exactly.
We got to change this thing up.
Right. I'm the anti-Tampa Bay Rays. I know we're geeked up about the Rays, but, if you were to compare this, 162 games. I mean, it's 1/16 of the season. This is basically an NFL team starting 1-0.
Okay. But there aren't a lot of 10-game winning streaks in Major League Baseball. That's the way I look. No matter when this streak occurs, you're fluttering around 2 games below, 2 games above 500. You rack off 10 wins, people take notice, whether it's in April or whether it's in July. What's the old adage? Every win in April is worth 2 in October.
Well, Phil Niekro. That was his thing. Every win you get before September, okay, you need 2 in September to make up for it. I don't know. The math doesn't seem to work to me, but that was his story, and he was sticking to it. By the way, the Rays won 86 games last year. They can play 500 the rest of the way, and they'll win 86. Remember, we both went over on their over-under, too. If you went over on the Rays, you got to be loving this. What was it, like 89.5? And we both said, oh, the Rays are definitely winning 90. You are loving this. You can damn near play 500 baseball the rest of the way, cash that ticket.
Pitching has been downright nasty for the Rays.
And McClanahan goes tonight.
Start.
Yeah. And they scored 5 in the 9th to overcome it in Washington. McClanahan pitching tonight. He's 2-0. His ERA is barely over 1. He's their best pitcher. Grew up on the west coast of Florida. Pitched his college ball at South Florida. It's a hell of a story. We have a recommendation for Sammy Davis Jr.'s The Candyman as a walk-up song. I was the Candyman in 3rd grade.
I don't know if this is for Miller or Moulton or for both of us, but someone suggested Lonesome Loser by the Little River Band. kicked me right in the gut.
I was going to say.
Right in the gut.
Oh,
Thanks for
man.
listening, by the way. Really appreciate it.
Right. Come on now. If you've been listening for a while, you know we're both happily married. I mean,
yeah, my wife still kisses me on the lips when I leave the house in the morning.
Well, exactly. So it obviously applies to me because, we've made the transition to I just get the cheek. I mean, you're still getting a smacker there.
But I don't know how far they are there with the song there either. I really don't know how far off that is. It just, it stings a bit.
It does sting a bit. I will say that song applied more to you than me heading into the weekend with your mustache. All right. That was you last week. Okay. Lonesome loser because of the stash. Now that you've shaved again, no, you're just,
I miss it.
Yeah, but your wife and daughter are affectionate with you again. They like you again. They want to be in the same room with you. They don't look away when they're talking to you.
And they were starting to look away. I was on the verge of being the lonesome loser. There's no doubt there that I would have been eating one more week with that thing. I was probably eating by myself.
And for those that didn't hear, you told this story. I think you did it late last week, because were you the third base coach?
Third base coach.
Daughter gets third base, looks right at you. And I'm guessing you're going into coach speak, okay, 2 outs or whatever. And
running on contact, kiddo. We got 2 outs. We're running on contact.
And she says,
would you please shave that thing off your face? Locked into the game. Locked right in.
So I think you were last week. I do think that was you. Not this week, though.
I'm back.
Right. No doubt. I mean, you're sad, apparently. You want to start growing it again, but you're back. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tony Fiorentino in about 45 minutes. We'll preview the Heat and the Hawks tonight. Miami with a win. They're in the playoffs. They go to Boston. Instead of in the conference finals, it's the first round. What a difference a year would make. Jimmy Butler, by the way, basically guaranteed a win. And he basically said, I'll carry this team on my back if I have to.
Question is, what can they do beyond this game? Because Jimmy Butler also made comments of the effect of, hey, no one bought into us last year. Look what we did. This team can do it again.
It's difficult to believe if you have shown yourself over 82 games, and I know load management and all that, but Mark, in a way, they don't have the pedigree, even though they have a very good pedigree. But aren't the Heat a little bit like the Lightning? The Lightning this year have been very up and down. And come on, they know what's going on. We'll be there in the playoffs. We know what to do. Blah, blah, blah. Haven't the Heat, I think it's a little different because I don't think the Heat are quite as good because they just haven't been making their perimeter shots this year like they have in past years. It's almost like if the Lightning had a season where the power play didn't work. That's kind of like what's going on with Miami.
Well, they lost a couple players that were guys that counted on for making threes. They're guys that they have not made them, and they didn't make a move at the deadline. So I don't think they're as good right now as they were a year ago.
Agreed. They clearly have not been. But 2 of the last 3 years, they've been in the conference final. Once they made it to the NBA final. And that's why it's kind of like, hey, don't count out the Heat. Okay. I hear you. But have you watched them play this year?
They want to rely on being well coached and outplaying teams. And I don't know if just work ethic gets it done against superior talent in the NBA. They can steal a game or 2 from Boston, but I can't see how they can get 4.
And I know most people don't care about this, but Quinn Snyder took over like 6 weeks ago as head coach of the Hawks. Reportedly, before Quinn took the job, he basically said, listen, we're going to have to blow this team up. And I get to determine who stays and who goes. I get to have a voice. And the word is, Mark, that basically this week could be a really important week as to whether or not Trae Young remains in Atlanta.
The irony that Trae Young could be ousted from Atlanta, and they're talking about Luka leaving Dallas after next year. And that will be a big talking point for the whole season a year from now.
How about Luka trying to play dumb? He's like, oh, what? You mean you can request a trade? Huh? I'm happy here. I didn't know that.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, I must say, the fact that I can see how you could make the mistake one time of us going over the air and not hitting the buttons, but that happens all the time is beyond me, because it's the easiest thing to make sure you don't do. The only reason it happened to me is I actually hit the wrong button. I hit the phones off the other day, and that's why you were on for a half a second when I forgot what you said there. Oh, and you were breaking down whatever we're going to do for that segment. Hodgepodge, exactly, Hops. It was hodgepodge. Hey, I know you don't like the microphone as much, but you sound a lot better on that mic.
Oh, that's all that matters. The only thing that I just occasionally worry about, I'm just trying to figure out how directional this mic is. Like, it's angled. Can I look straight at you, or
You're
do
fine.
I need?
No, it doesn't make a bit of difference. It's pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay.
But I mean, for the how the heck are you alone, it just sounds light years better.
I got some football here.
That's what I was going to. All right, good.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tony Fiorentino will look ahead to the Heat and the Hawks tonight in the first Eastern Conference play-in game. 7 versus 8 in the NBA tonight, East and West. Heat host the Hawks. Lakers host the T-Wolves. The winners tonight move into the playoffs as the 7 seed. In the East, that means you get Boston. In the West, that means you get Memphis. I don't know. Road sounds a little harder in the East. Just saying. Then tomorrow night, 9 will play 10. Loser's done. Winner plays the loser tonight. You got it? So the 7 and 8 seeds get 2 bites at the apple. They only need to win 1.
How about that?
Hey, we threw this out there 2 months ago, but sometimes it bears repeating. So Phil Steele just reminded us the other day on Twitter. He wished everybody a happy Easter, and he said, by the way, just want to make sure you guys all remember what I said 2 months ago. And, you and I have both already ordered our Phil Steele magazines, hoping to get them before the July 4th weekend. That's kind of a, usually we take some time off and, well, we spend it snuggling up with Phil and his magazine.
I'm telling you, I'm for a few days, I'm going to be by a lake quite a ways north of here. And I really hope I can ignore my entire family for 2 days while reading Phil Steele.
Well, And if you start growing the mustache with a Phil Steele magazine,
now you're talking. This is going to be for my vacation, David. We're going to spend about 4 days, just the family. And then we're going to spend about 4 days with her family. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law, her parents. So my brother-in-law's in-laws, a big lake house that we're all going to. If I show up there with that thing on my face, no, she won't talk to me at all.
There you go. Done. You want the vacation that every middle-aged married guy really wants? 8 days to be left alone. There you go. Bring your Phil Steele. Grow the mustache.
This is going to be glorious.
Well, you're still about 3 months away from that, though. Keep your head in the game.
Okay. All right.
So before you're snuggling up with Uncle Phil there. So Phil has his top, 40, I believe it is. But he makes a prediction every year. He says, I'm going to let you know now what the AP top 10 is going to be. And he's done this for 14 years. And he has been able to accurately predict 94% of the teams. 96%, I'm sorry, 96% of the teams that the AP will put in their preseason top 10. Now, he doesn't necessarily, get them in order. He just says this will be the AP's top 10 teams. Think about it. In 14 years, he's missed 6 teams, period. So every other year, he'll miss a team. So here's his preseason top 10. From the bottom up, Notre Dame. I have to admit, I'm curious about that one. USC. Clemson. One spot ahead of Clemson, Florida State. That's where I thought it was going to be worth. How about that?
Well, I expected to hear Florida State in the top 10. It was just a matter of where. The fact that they're ahead of Clemson should make Knowles fan happy for now. But again, this is what he looks at the preseason top 10 at, not what he looks at the end of the season, which he will have in his magazine.
And this is not his top 10. This is him predicting what the AP preseason top 10 will be. Florida State 7, LSU 6, Penn State 5, Michigan 4, Ohio State 3. This is the last year of East and West, isn't it?
Yes.
If those 3 teams can live up to that, I got to admit, might miss the whole East and West in the Big Ten thing.
David, whether or not they live up to it doesn't even matter anymore. Somebody from that conference needs to win a game in January.
Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, 5-4-3, and then we can all predict 1 and 2. Georgia 1, Bama 2. So 6 of the 10, 3 SEC, 3 Big Ten, 2 ACC, Notre Dame, and a Pac-12. And of course, the Pac-12 team in a year will be in the Big Ten.
But that means no one from the Big 12.
You are correct.
Not one team.
No Texas, no Oklahoma, no TCU. Now, granted, TCU was picked like 7th in the league last year. So, but we all know what happened. So, yes, preseason top 10, that's his prediction, of which he is almost always 100% right as to what the AP preseason top 10 will be. Now, remember, last year they had A&M and Notre Dame and Michigan State was 11, and we were all pounding the table going, they're wrong. They're wrong. And we have a Michigan State alum co-hosting the show who's like, I follow the program kind of closely. Okay, this is a whole lot of hype and not a lot of substance.
Who on that list do you think is the most overrated? And I know you haven't jumped into looking at 2023 college football yet, but just based on a year ago, based on what you think heading into the season, do you see a team on there that you think is heavily overrated?
Well, I am curious who the Notre Dame quarterbacks are going to be. And they also lost their best offensive weapon in Mayer, the tight end. So I have my questions.
Wake Forest kid their quarterback?
Okay. I mean, they had their troubles last year. That's all. I mean, I would like that coach to prove that he is an elite head coach and they can be an elite program before I jump on the bandwagon. That's all I'm saying. Now, I haven't looked at their schedule. Like last year, they were opening up with Ohio State. I mean, that's why when they were preseason in the top 5 or 6 last year, we were all going, they're going to open with a L. I mean, it's tough to be what it is you think they're going to be when you start 0-1. And of course, they ended up starting, 0-2 and, 3 early losses. It was a mess. But I find it interesting that Phil, just for the sake of argument, and, Phil, he's not a shtick guy, but Phil also knows how the game is played a little bit. Okay. The fact he put Florida State one spot ahead of Clemson, I found strategically fascinating. Because Florida State has to play at Clemson. So the fact that he put them one spot ahead of Clemson, that's Phil's way of saying, well, I think they lose the regular season game, but I think they're going to get a rematch.
Well, again, it's what he thinks the AP is going to look like. But just a little bit on Notre Dame. They are at NC State. They do host the Buckeyes. They host USC. They host Pitt. They're at Clemson. They're at Stanford. And Stanford's way down. But of their big games, at Clemson, home for USC, home for Ohio State.
By the way, that's a pretty good schedule.
Oh, yeah.
There's a group out there that likes to knock Notre Dame because they're an independent and for their schedule. Got to admit, I think Notre Dame plays more tough games a year than Alabama does. Really do. Which is amazing considering we all know what conference and division Alabama's been in, but we're just saying.
Saturday, September 23rd, the Buckeyes travel to South Bend.
7:30 on NBC.
Yeah, I don't know why they have a TBD for time on this.
Right.
We know when it is.
I mean, come on. Like that game's not going to be in prime time? Seriously? But just throwing that out there. Schedules are going to come out, and TV schedules and what have you all going to come out in the next month. And, shortly after the draft, the hype's going to begin and all that. Spring football going on now. Most of it's complete. And, people getting ramped up. Oh, how'd we look? Auburn fan going, my goodness, you see, we only completed 6 passes. Between 2 quarterbacks, we completed 6 passes. Gator fans like, what do you mean it's a competition at quarterback? The one guy's terrible. We saw him in the bowl game, and you're telling me the other guy isn't clearly better than him? What the heck?
Yeah, what did Auburn have a tie in their spring game?
Yeah, I will say it was played in a monsoon, though. I mean, there were,
I'm glad the spring game hype has kind of gone away.
Yes.
There was a run there for about half a decade in which the spring games really got out of control. ESPNU was televising everything they could. They're putting, and it doesn't mean they still don't draw at certain places. I mean, even Colorado sold out their spring game this year with Dion there. It's fun to see hype with a new coach, but it seems that the media that covers a team has lightened up a little bit on the spring game. Spring practice, different, but the spring game is not the end-all, be-all that so many fans made it out to be.
By the way, a lot of rumbling out there that Colorado may just get up and leave. That they're not tied to Utah. They're not going to sit and wait to see what Oregon and Washington does. That they're not going to be part of that Arizona State, Utah, Colorado grouping that goes to the Big 12. There's a lot of talk that Colorado may just get up and go to the Big 12. Say, you guys figure it out. We don't care. We're out of here.
Would be rich.
Well, it's interesting, though, because then you're making a philosophical decision. Are we going to get our players from California or Texas? Now, I think it works, especially with Dion as coach and all the time he spent in Dallas and what have you. But that you're making that decision, Mark. If you're going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, then you're deciding we're getting our players here instead of there.
And I would be leaning Texas over California because the football numbers in California are down in ways that they're not in Texas. I think that's a smart philosophical move for Colorado. I don't think things have worked out that well since they've tried to go the other route to get their players.
They feel like a Big 12 school, don't they?
They really do.
Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tony Fiorentino to join us coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time. We'll get his thoughts whether or not the Heat have a run in them. Does it start tonight at home against Atlanta in the play-in? If they win, they'll face Boston in the first round, best of 7. If they lose tonight, they'll face elimination on Thursday night when they host the winner of the Toronto-Chicago game. You like this, by the way? This play-in, or do you think it's stupid?
I don't think it's stupid. You know, the wild cards worked very well for baseball to bring teams back into it. The problem that I have with the play-in in basketball is that, does anybody out there think the 9 and 10 teams can win a title?
Well, if the 1, 9, or 10 out west was Dallas, but they opted out. Usually not. I mean, because usually by the time you get to the 9th or 10th place team out in either conference, you're looking at 500 or just below.
So I don't think it's necessary, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. The league likes it. They're all for it. Sells a few more tickets in these cities, I suppose.
See, to me, it's kind of like adding teams to the NCAA tournament, and the coaches are for it. Why? It helps save jobs. 64 became 68. How many want to make it 72? Never mind those that want to make it 96. Some coaches who we really like Jim Larinaga, he's all for 96.
And I think it's not just, coaches in the NBA that like it. I think GMs and, for that matter, owners like it because they can lie to their fan base as a 10th place team. Well, we made the play-in. We're on the right track. Because the last thing owners want to do is fire coaches and GMs and start over. It costs them more money, David. And that's the last thing they want. So I could see where the league's kind of in lockstep with this.
Mark, I think you bring up a great point. Of the major pro sports leagues, we could see a 6 or a 7 seed winning the Super Bowl, couldn't we?
We see it all the time. Not all the time, but we've seen it. We have evidence of it.
We could see a 6 seed winning the World Series. Hell, the Phillies were a 6 seed last year, got to Game 6 of the World Series.
And I've seen bad 8 seeds in hockey make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
With a goalie, hockey's kind of like poker. You have a chip and a chair, what do you got in the NHL? I got a goalie and a playoff spot. Okay.
I got a goalie and a little grit. Let's see how far we can go.
Yep. I got goalie grit, and I got a guy who can win faceoffs the whole third period, protected a 2-1 lead. Let's go. He's going to get 27 shifts this period, at least to start. He's got to get his butt off the ice.
Play a long time in that league if you can win faceoffs, David.
It's like being a long snapper, baby. What do? I win faceoffs. Oh, well, you could just sit at the end of the bench.
Hurricanes coach Rod Brindamore was a great faceoff guy. His kid won a natty at Quinnipiac and was out there for every big faceoff in the Frozen Four. Every single one.
By the way, that's got to be tough growing up. You're trying to learn faceoffs and you're having to go against because he's definitely an American Hall of Famer. I don't know if Rod Brindamore is a hockey Hall of Famer, but he's a U.S. Hall of Famer. He was a terrific player, great leader, strong, especially those forearms on faceoffs. Imagine that growing up. You're out on the rink, you're in the driveway, you're in the garage. We're going to work on faceoffs for 20 minutes. You're going up against your old man who played 20 years in the league. He can win faceoffs when he's 80. Once you get that sucker down, you're good friends, a career minor leaguer and Tom Buckley. Tom Buckley was a great faceoff guy. Great faceoff guy. And it's funny because you don't think of him as a great defensive player. Well, it starts with who gets to possess the puck.
That is after all the best defense. Taking the puck away from the other team. That seems to be key.
And we watched a minor league team one year go on a run. They had hot goaltending. They got in on literally the last minute of the regular season. They had some hot goaltending, a little bit of grit, get some timely scoring, protect a 1-goal lead with a guy who can win 20 consecutive faceoffs. Let's call it a day. But you make a great point. It's very difficult. You got to be older or a big fan. The Houston Rockets with Moses Malone in 1981 went to the NBA Finals with a record of 40-42.
What were the series games in the first round, David? What was that the best of?
Mark, that would be a best of 3.
Bingo. They
played,
have removed the NBA has gone out of and the NHL as well, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they have gone out of their way to make sure by lengthening the series to best of 7s that the odds are the best team wins.
And Mark, I even think the second round of the playoffs was a best of 5 back in
I'm pretty
81.
sure you're right.
They changed it shortly thereafterwards. And that series, the Rockets took out the Lakers, who had won the championship in 80, Magic's rookie year. I mean, that was a 1-8 matchup. Houston was the 8, obviously, at 40-42. And they won the best of 3, 2-1. Moses outplayed Kareem. Rockets won.
That's what a Mo Malone can do for you.
Is that like a Joe Burrow?
Yes.
It's good to have a Mo Malone.
It's good to have him back in that heyday of the NBA, David. It was really good to have a Mo Malone who could get you 20 and 20 damn near every night.
He could. Now, 8 of those 20 were off his misses, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yep.
He liked to run a tip drill every once in a while on the offensive glass.
By the way, that was a riveting Western Conference final, if I remember it correctly, because both teams then posted upsets in the second round. I believe it was Cotton Fitzsimmons and the Kansas City Kings who had home court against Moses Malone and the Houston Rockets. That's when the NBA Finals were on tape delay. Seriously, Larry Bird won his first NBA title, and America saw it at 2 a.m. on CBS after your late local news.
It's still staggering to me that somehow I found a way at a very young age to stay up for some of those games. I mean, that just shows you my parents went to bed and had no care what I was doing.
I think you were talking about falling asleep during one of the games. I don't know if it was a national title game or what have you, and you kind of woke up. And I remember the Sixers and the Celtics were playing in a conference final, and I think it was Philly, who, if they won, they beat the Celtics. They were moving on to the finals. And when I fell asleep, because I was secretly watching the game with no volume on in my bedroom, when I fell asleep, the Sixers were up double digits in the fourth quarter. And so I wake up the next morning, and apparently the Celtics won by 10. And I was convinced that it was wrong. The paper's wrong. The radio's wrong. It's impossible. I went to bed. Philly was up 10. How could this be? But, when the game's being shown from midnight to 2 a.m., that sort of thing can happen.
And now that's just basically any of the Western Conference playoff games that you'll want to watch.
And you'll get to see the Sacramento Kings, ladies and gentlemen. They're an NBA franchise, and they're in the playoffs for the first time since the George W. Bush administration.
And they're going to be on national television. Holy cow.
And it's the hottest ticket in the league. $500 will not get you into the arena Saturday night for game 1 in the first round. Wow. Show up with $1,000. I can't get 2 tickets. Nosebleeds.
And the league is hoping that the Kings get bounced in the first round so Golden State moves on. Nothing they are rooting for more than the departure of the Sacramento Kings. We'll talk some Heat next. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
For Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Thanes, Pat had to cancel. He'll be on at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Pat Kirwan at 7 o'clock tomorrow. What are you looking at?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to turn one of the lights to see if it made it any better, but I don't care that much. Would require work. I could break something.
Exactly. Besides, that's a height. You're anti-heights.
I mean, that's fine.
We don't have to go the distance with this segment.
No.
You know. But I thought it'd be good to have.
I agree. Hopefully they win so we can get them in the next round, so get some basketball in. Oh, I don't want to have to watch Heat basketball tonight, and I will. It's not that hard, Hops. My demands go way up on Thursday because this is pretty easy.
I will say the Hurricanes are threatening so that the Devils and Rangers may not play one another. At least not in the first round.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tony Fiorentino is kind enough to join us once again. Over 30 years as a coach and broadcaster with the Heat. You can follow Tony on Twitter, Tony Heat WC3X, Tony Heat WC3X. Tony, it's David and Mark. Hope you had a great Easter with your family. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Well, we are doing well. Just going to throw it in underhanded. Not about the Heat in the play-in, just your thoughts about the play-in in general. Do you like this?
Well, let me reiterate what Coach Spoelstra has said. I like it from one standpoint, that it keeps a lot of teams in the mix. It keeps fans interested. It's like when baseball went to the wild card, a couple of wild card teams that could get in. It keeps a lot of – I remember I'm a big Yankee fan. I'm from New York, and I remember back in the – I guess it was the 60s, the 60s, where the Yankees were won the pennant a week into September, and then made a lot of games left in the season meaningless. Here, when you have a play-in situation, you've got teams that stay in the mix, the fans stay in the mix. As Coach Spoelstra said, there's less tanking that goes on. Teams have a chance to get a home game, possibly move on, get into you never know what's going to happen in the series. The odds are against you that if you do get into the playoffs, if the Heat win, they got to play against the Celtics in a 7-game series. And so the odds are against you, but you're in the series and anything can happen. So I do like to play, and I think it keeps a lot of teams and fans interested right to the end.
For sake of argument, let's say the Heat get this one tonight and get on, but can they flip a switch? They've been so good in the postseason. This year has not been as good of a regular season. Do you think that I know there's no magic switch to turn on in the playoffs, but because of their playoff pedigree, because of what this team's done in the past, do you think that they understand what that extra gear is right now?
Yeah, I think that's a variable you got to consider because they've been there. They came within a jump shot of getting in the finals last year. And so most of that team is back. And so they've tasted it. It's tough to beat a team that's tasted it. And so, the Heat has that championship pedigree where every year, it doesn't matter what the situation is, their goal is to win a championship. And they all aspire to that. It's been a crazy up and down season. The Heat have lost games they shouldn't have lost. Probably they won games at the end. And it's been a crazy up and down season, but they're playing much better now toward the end. They've got their rotation down. Coach Spoelstra's made a few changes, and guys now seem to know their role. He's got Lowry and Love coming off the bench now where they were starting. And so it looks like it's working out better that way. And as you said, they've got that experience. they've done a pretty good job against Atlanta this year. They're 3-1 against them. It doesn't mean much going into this game, except the Heat has a formula on how to beat them. And so it's going to be an interesting game tonight.
Tony, when you look at the Heat across the 82 games, as you said, most of the roster is the same. They added Kevin Love. Some guys missed time with injuries and what have you. What's been the biggest difference on the court? Has it simply been they just haven't hit the threes, and last year they hit them at a better rate?
Well, there's two reasons. One is that, how do you go from the best three-point shooting team in the NBA to one of the worst? It doesn't make sense. It's some of the same guys. And at one point toward the tail end of the season, I looked up this stat. I don't know if it exists right now, but each player that had a good percentage of shooting threes last year, they were all down this year except one guy, and it's a crazy stat. Jimmy Butler was the only guy of all the 8-9 guys that play a lot that had a better 3-point shooting percentage than last year, which doesn't make sense because he's not a 3-point shooter. So it's been that's one crazy stat. The other one is that the Heat have not fared well defensively. They're just not doing a good job defensively. They're still in the top 10 defensively. That's because they were very good early in the season, and it's carried over. The trend toward the tail end of the season is they haven't been very good defensively. And when the threes are not falling, two things happen. Number one, you've got to play good defense at the other end to keep you in the game. But when you shoot a three and miss it, the opposing team can get out and run with the long rebounds. And we know in basketball, I don't care what level you coach on, you have a much better chance of being a good defensive team if you defend the half-court offense than in transition. And so if you put those two variables together, I think that you can sort of understand a little bit why it's been an up-and-down season.
Tony Fiorentino, over 30 years, a coach and broadcaster with the Miami Heat. Follow him on Twitter, Tony Heat WC3X. Tony Heat WC3X.
Well, scoring's obviously been up in the league at an astronomical rate this year, but you talk about the Heat's defense. That's where I thought the team would rely on in the postseason, because I don't know if they scored as well as some of the other teams. But what's happened to them defensively in the second half of the season? Is it an injury thing? Because you're right, the numbers don't really coincide with what happened the first half of the year.
I think a part of it, without making an excuse, you never want to make excuses. The Heat never do that. They're very pragmatic in their approach to everything. But I think you have to look at the fact that there have been some injuries. There have been guys out for personal reasons. Whatever it was, they never got into that chemistry, whatever you want to call it. Just the flow of being a good defensive team and rotating to the baseline and keeping guys out of the middle of the floor. And I think it's also a product, because a lot of teams are going through this. There's a lot of good, young, athletic players in the NBA. I've never seen anything like this before. I don't follow it as closely as I did when I was announcing, because then you have to prepare for games. But there have been teams that have come in from the West Coast, and there are guys I really haven't heard much about. They come in and they score 25 points, and they're getting to the rim, and they're shooting threes. And I say, who are these guys? There's a lot of young guys like that in the NBA. So it's kind of transitioned into a more athletic, more transition type league, and they're much more difficult to guard off the dribble when you do that, when you have that. So I think that's part of it. And you mentioned that scoring is up in the league. I mean, I think there's 5 guys averaging over 30 a game. When's the last time that happened in the NBA? So I think that's part of the equation.
How do you like the matchup for the Heat against the Hawks? You mentioned Miami took 3 of the 4, but in the regular season, you never know who's playing when and when they played and all that. Although they did play, I believe, a 2-game series last month in Miami, and Miami won them both. Both close games, though. Why do you like the matchup for the Heat tonight?
Well, the Heat has a formula to play against Trae Young. It's worked in the past. You don't know if it's going to work tonight because he's such a crafty, tricky type player. Gabe Vincent, when he's guarding Trae Young has a very low shooting percentage. when Caleb Martin is guarding him, he has a very low shooting percentage. And then Bam, when he is switched on to him. And the Heat, at times, they use this judiciously. They don't do it all game, but they trap him at times at certain points of the floor. And at certain points of the floor. And what happens with that is it's not just a trap, but you got to trap with size, because the component of that whole thing is you can't allow anybody that you trap, including, especially Trae Young, because he's so crafty with the ball, to throw a straight line pass to an open teammate, because the ball can move faster than you can rotate. You're at a disadvantage, with the opposing team having a 4-on-3 with the other 3 defenders. So you got to force them into throwing more lob passes or passes that take a little bit of time to get to their teammate, so that you have time to rotate. And so the Heat have done a really good job of trapping Trae Young and not allowing him to dominate the game. He's got against the Heat, he's got the lowest scoring average against any Eastern Conference team. It's against the Heat. And even though he does a pretty good job with his assists, he also has a high number of turnovers. And so that's going to be the formula defensively for the Heat. I'm curious to see, how does Atlanta play Jimmy Butler? Because people know that in this type of game, Jimmy Butler is one of the top 5 or 6 players in the NBA, in my opinion. When you're playing a do-or-die game, you're playing in a game like the playoffs, he really rises to the occasion. And the team knows that he's the one that has to handle the ball. He's the one they go to when they need a basket, and he usually delivers. So let's see what Atlanta does. This may be a game tonight where the other players have to win the game for their team, because if Trae Young's being double-teamed, other guys got to hit for them. Dejounte Murray is a very good player. He's had some very high-scoring games this year. He's capable of having a 30, 35-point game. And then for the Heat, how will the other guys fare, like Bam and Hero and guys like that, when Jimmy is being double-teamed? And so I think it's going to come down to that. Which guy can overcome the double team and the other guys produce rather than the opponent? So we'll see how that works.
Tony Fiorentino, longtime Heat coach and broadcaster. Follow him on Twitter, Tony Heat WC3X, Tony Heat WC3X. Tony, we meant it. We hope you had a good Easter with your family. Thanks for making time for us. Hopefully the Heat win, get into that Celtics series, and we could call you maybe midway through it.
Sure. David, Mark, thank you. Hope you guys had a great Easter, and hopefully we'll be talking again maybe next week during the Boston series.
That would sounds like outstanding. Tony Fiorentino, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Winner tonight, Heat Hawks faces Boston as the 7 seed. It would be interesting because last year the Heat and the Celtics played in the conference finals and the series went 7, and now they'd be meeting in the first round. What a difference a year makes. I like the 2 home teams tonight for what it's worth, the Heat and the Lakers. Miami favored by 5, Lakers by 8. No Rudy Gobert for the T-Wolves. He's suspended.
I think I'd bet the Lakers and lay the points.
Oh, wow. Well, they have won 6 of 7 and 9 of 11 to end the season, and it's all after LeBron came back.
And the best defender on LeBron broke his hand by hitting the wall, and no Gobert. I don't know how Minnesota plays this game defensively. I think that's my pick there, and I think the Heat take care of business as well. It'll be interesting, though. Is it Bam? Is it Hero? Who's gonna be the Robin for Jimmy Butler tonight?
So I don't know if I'd call it breaking news, but there's a feeling around the NFL that Carolina's going Bryce Young. And that's a bit of a shifting tide, because the feeling 2-3 weeks ago was they were going CJ Stroud. When they made the trade up from 9 to 1, everybody went, oh, they're going, or wherever they went to move up to 1. I don't know. It was 9.
Oh, you're right. You got it.
Oh, yeah, because the Bears were at 1 and now they're at 9. So when they made that move, the feeling was, oh, they're going to CJ Stroud. Because I think also he had just done his pro day, or they had just done a workout, the whole deal. They loved him. And now, you're getting the Daniel Jeremiah, Schefter, Mortensen. You got quite a few people that are being fed the same stuff that Carolina's going Bryce Young at 1. 5'10", 204, remember, was what he was measured at. Or 5'10 and a quarter, 204, something like that.
And that quarter's big. Don't kid yourself. If he was just 5'10", there's no way he could play in the league. 5'10 and a quarter. Oh, sky's the limit now. I'm a CJ Stroud guy for what it's worth. I think you're a Bryce Young guy for what it's worth, right?
I am. The word, though, was Houston preferred Bryce Young to CJ Stroud. So now, would Houston then just take the other guy? Or would Houston go, I don't know. Maybe I go get the best edge rusher and I can fall back and take my quarterback at 12. Maybe I like one of the other two better.
The fact that quarterbacks could go 1, 2, 3, 4, or that they're talking about quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4, leads me to believe it's not going to happen.
I saw a mock draft yesterday from a guy who has a pretty good record, if you will, of being accurate on mock drafts, who had the quarterbacks go 1, 2, and Anthony Richardson at 20. And those were the only 3 quarterbacks who went in the first round. He also only had 3 wide receivers going in the first round. He said the wide receiver thing is all hype. The class is not that good this year. This is a second, third round wide receiver draft.
You got the kid from Ohio State. You got the kid from TCU.
And the kid from USC. And that might be it. So, Pat Kirwan on the show tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Pat Kirwan tomorrow on the show. Seth Everett will also join us tomorrow. For those sticking around in the bonus hour, Brian Ellis, an outfielder for FGCU with a chance to set an all-time NCAA record next.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. He's calling right at 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. David, text them to call again. I was in the bathroom. I think I just missed it.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thrilled to be joined by Brian Ellis, a senior at FGCU and then some. This is 6th year with the program. He had a redshirt year and then a COVID year. And boy, is he taking advantage of it. He has tied an all-time NCAA record by reaching base in 101 consecutive games. If he reaches base tonight against FAU, he alone will have the all-time record. Brian, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing this morning?
Well, we're doing well. Listen, we'll get to the streak in a moment. First off, you guys are 26-6. You're ranked 15th in the country. You know, heady times, FGCU's only had one other team that was ranked like this, and it was your senior year of high school. So you're a part of something like this for the first time. Did you guys think you were this good 2 months ago?
Every time you go into the first game of the year, you really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this year, all the guys put in the work in the off season. We all worked really hard, and we all really believed in each other. And from that moment on, after the first game, we just had a really good feeling about this team.
Was there a moment earlier in the season that belief really took hold? Was there a game, a comeback, a beating a certain team in which, yeah, you know, because quite frankly, Brian, I think everybody puts the work in the offseason. Everybody believes it sometimes takes a moment. Was there a moment earlier in the season?
Well, this year we started off pretty good, I think, at like 8-1, similar to last year. And this year we went up to Tallahassee to play Florida State, and we ended up winning that series. After that Friday night game, we really felt good about ourselves, and we felt like we could just beat any team in the country at that point.
And FGCU pretty much has 26-6. They've been ranked more weeks than not. Second week in a row, they're ranked 15th in the country in the poll that everyone quotes. They're 16th in another, and what have you. And they are a little more than halfway through their season. They've got about 24 games left. By the way, why FGCU? You grew up kind of northwest of Orlando. You played football in high school. By the way, what football position did you play?
I actually played linebacker.
Huh.
Wasn't too bad.
Was it a close call as to what sport you were going to play in college, or no?
Well, my dad's actually a football strength coach. I'm sure he always wanted me to play football, but I always just found myself liking baseball more and kind of where my heart was.
And for all the parents that are listening right now, you just heard another multi-sport athlete playing college baseball, because it helps if you play lots of sports growing up, then you pick your one a little later in life. Just a pet peeve of my Brian, just a pet peeve. Love to hear that you're playing multiple sports, because they want to get these kids playing travel baseball at 8 and making them make decisions, and that's the wrong decision. I'm just curious, as this streak's been going on, when your walk-up music, did you change it at all? Do you ever change it? Has it been the same throughout this whole streak?
The same for a while now. I think since I first started out starting games for FGCU, I kind of just kept it and really just didn't want to change up the mojo.
What's your walk-up song?
It's called "Take Me Out" by Frank Furzen, something like that.
Were you
little old school classic?
Gotcha.
Kinda.
All right. So you reach base your final 11 games in 2021. At what point last season do you first become aware of this streak?
Honestly, I never really paid attention to it unless someone told me about it. It was kind of just in the back side of my mind. I never really noticed. And then someone said, "Hey, you're a couple of games away from breaking the school record." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
By the way, this old school classic walk-up song came out in 2004, David. So, really old school for the two of us.
Right. No, we hate them. I mean, we hate them. We wish them the best tonight, but we hate them. Absolutely.
Love the song, but it's fine.
Right.
Just with not even mentioning the streak. Your job as a leadoff hitter is to get on. So basically, it sounds like you're one of those guys that just wants to do your job every night.
Oh yeah, you couldn't be more right. You know, I'm not one of those guys that are just gonna hit balls over the fence, go gap to gap every day. But if I just find a way on base and you look at the lineup and who's behind me, I think we have a great chance of scoring.
Well, you're nearly a career 350 hitter, and you came into this season obviously with gaudy numbers. Has there been a moment this year, though, where you're reaching the late innings? You know, you're the leadoff hitter, so maybe you came to bat in the 8th or the 9th, and you hadn't reached base yet.
Yeah, I think there's been 1 or 2 games like that this year.
Any more pressure?
Yeah, I feel it a little because, you know, all the media out there today always reminds me like what number I'm at every day. But when I try not to think about it, but when I'm later in that game and later in that bat, it starts to set on you a little.
Well, I think just lean into that first pitch, take one off the shoulder, and get on and get it out of the way today.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
How much studying do you do as a hitter? Like, are you someone who watches a lot of video? Do you want extensive scouting report info, or how much of your game is feel?
I would say it's about half and half. A lot of it's just like the feel and your routine as a hitter, doing what makes you feel comfortable and making those small adjustments that you need to make. And then the other half is just the film on the pitcher you face, where he likes to throw the ball, what pitches he likes to throw, and what count, what he does with runners on scoring position, what he does in different counts, and the movement on a ball, and all stuff like that.
Brian, first off, congratulations on the tremendous career that you've had. Also on what you and your teammates have done this year. Best of luck tonight. Stay healthy, and hopefully you guys are going to have a deep May into June run, and we can do this again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Brian Ellis, leadoff hitter for FGCU, all 101 games consecutively that he has gotten on base. He has been the leadoff hitter. 10 games this year, Mark, where he did not have a hit. So of the 32 they've played, you know, about a third of the games he's gotten on base without a hit.
That's the leadoff man's job.
He generates nearly a walk a game on average. So
Coach Tillette's got a really good team this year.
They lead the nation in runs scored. This is Division I. Okay. I mean, you know, not to knock any other level here, but, you know, lead the nation in runs scored. They lead the nation in on-base percentage. They lead the nation in slugging percentage. They're 26-6. They're ranked 15th in the country. During the 101 game streak, his on-base percentage is .501.
That'll play.
143 hits, 77 walks, 39 hit by pitches, by the way. You suggesting taking one there off the elbow. I mean, he gets 2 out of every 5 games he gets hit.
I like the fact that I offered it, and he said, that's a good idea. Just let me get on base. Let's get this over with. Get one inside.
Don't your first pitch of the game, if you're Ellis, what are you doing it? All right. Are you just, I'm looking fastball and I'm all over it? Do you fake the bunt? What do you do first pitch of the game?
To me, it's one pitch. You've got a spot, and you're, like you said, if it's, I'm picking out a spot, I'm picking a fastball in a certain part of the zone. I'm swinging. If not, I'm taking the first pitch. This guy gets a lot of walks. The odds are he's taking unless it's right where he wants it to be.
His streak started on April 30th, 2021. Last 11 games of that season, all 58 games last year, first 32 games this year. 101 consecutive games he's reached base. He's a career 346 hitter, by the way.
And if he's there for a 6th year, this is probably it for him, right? This isn't a guy that's going to play minor league baseball anywhere. This is it.
Right. He's 24 years old.
Right.
I
If
mean,
he was going to play pro ball, that would have already happened.
Right. He redshirted in 2018, and this is his COVID year. I mean, between the NCAA and the COVID and what have you, I mean, my guess is he's getting his master's in exercise science at FGCU because that was his major. So listen, if by chance you actually want to go tonight, you've never been or you don't go often, FGCU starts at 6:30, their baseball games. They're hosting FAU. FAU beat them on a walk-off grand slam last week on the other coast, 8-4. So they normally play good games, these two. FAU's already won 20-plus games themselves. So it should be a good game tonight. 6:30 first pitch. Remember, he bats leadoff in the bottom of the first. So just saying, if you're going to go, 6:30, 6:35, you got to be there.
Well, and they throw first pitch at 6:30 too.
Right.
They adhere to the Mark Miller start clock. When it says 6:30, the game starts at 6:30.
Right. Tell you, when you guys made that switch and you didn't with the blades and you didn't let us know, and we're all showing up at 7:38, 7:40. I remember walking in one night, first time it was 2-0. Well, what the heck? I could stand here for 2 hours and not get a goal. I've already missed 2.
And that killed you doing local news because you'd have been gone by then. You'd have shot those 2 goals, grabbed a complimentary meal in the press room, and said, sayonara, I am out of here. I've got a high school basketball game to cover somewhere.
That would have been spectacular. In fact, I might have actually ate the meal at the arena. I would have had so much time. Knife and a fork and everything. So hope he gets it tonight. And hope a few people check the team out.
They are worthy of doing so. There's a really solid baseball team and doing great in the A-Sun. They've knocked down everybody that they've played and looks as if they're a tournament. They're a legitimate tournament team this year.
Yes. I mean, they play a little over 500 baseball the rest of the way. I think they'll have the wins and the RPI to get in. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Looks like YouTube just put out the Sunday ticket stuff.
Oh, really?
There's 2 categories. About the same price. But you don't have to get YouTube TV to get it. But if you have YouTube TV, it's going to be cheaper.
So, Hops, you're saying it is more expensive than DirecTV? Thanks, Samuel, by the way. He's, we were told beforehand he's not a talk about me kind of a guy. So, glad we could just get him to talk a little bit. Look at Mark taking the opportunity to pound the desk for one of his pet peeves. Nice. That's a pro right there.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with some final thoughts. Coming up in roughly 20 minutes time, a reminder tomorrow, Pat Kirwan at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. We'll get our football fix tomorrow with Pat Kirwan. Kirk McKnight is the author of the book, The Voices of Baseball, which is being released tomorrow. And right as it's being released, he's going to be on our show. And since it's a hump day, Seth Everett's going to join us as well. Speaking of football, right as we were going to break there, I guess YouTube made some news.
YouTube made some news. They have issued their pricing for the first season of the NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube. It's a bit confusing. I read through the article and I still don't completely understand it. I would say this. If you're going to get the ticket, you're going to benefit by signing up for YouTube TV sooner than later. Because if you're already a YouTube TV subscriber, it is going to be cheaper for you.
So would you recommend? So would you recommend, like, if you're not a YouTube TV subscriber right now, should you become one and then buy the ticket?
Yes. From the looks of it, you should. There's some $100 pre-sale discounts. It's going to be $349 for the Sunday ticket, $389 with Red Zone. That pricing is very similar to what it was on DirecTV.
Now, you got to help me here because obviously I've been working the last few years. But I thought I heard, was Sunday ticket $300?
I think I paid $400. It was $300 for Sunday ticket, $400 if you wanted the Red Zone. And let's be honest, how can you live without the Red Zone?
So 300/400, this is 350/390.
Right.
So, okay.
Couple of the different things. One, they're not going to allow you to just buy a team. That's not happening. The a la carte, I want to buy the Pittsburgh Steelers, is not going to happen yet. The other thing I thought that was interesting is they've got some key features that they're going to try to do. Tell me if any of these interest you, David. The first one is they will actually have a way that you can choose what 4 games you want to watch on one TV, which I think is a terrific feature. Literally can put 4 games up on your big screen, watch 4 at once.
Now, hold on. Can you then, like, enlarge one of the 4 and make it the full screen?
Probably.
Okay.
My favorite thing on here, though, is that there is a hide spoilers function. So if you don't want to see, if you're someone who tapes games or was taping a game and you don't want to see what the score is, you literally can hide the spoilers so it will not show you scores from the other games.
Wow. So
that's basically a fun feature.
So blocking the crawl.
Yeah.
Huh. And they're also, in theory, going to have to block if they throw it back to the studio for an in-game highlight. Huh. That seems technologically challenging, I got to be honest.
Apparently, you can have, a little bit more personality to it, but you can get real-time stats. You can get some fantasy stuff. I'll be interested to see how these features work in real time. But they are trying to get the fantasy guy taken care of, so you can. It doesn't get into the specifics, but I would imagine you could probably set your lineup on there and things of that nature.
If you're running the show, are you ever going to offer teams a la carte?
I wouldn't. Most people are paying the big money for watching one team anyhow. Why would I give them a discount for doing what they're already doing? I'm the exception, not the rule. I am clearly the exception. I want to watch the best game. And I want to watch the best games. I don't care about watching a certain team. I watch the Dolphins and I watch the Bucks because I work for the Florida Sports Network. That's why I watch those 2 teams. Other than that, just give me the best damn games that are on.
But you do know you're the minority.
No. I am clear. It's not close.
Right.
I am the exception.
I mean,
most everybody else is buying, my next door neighbor bought the package. Why? To watch the Philadelphia Eagles. That was it. It's the only reason he had it.
So basically, he's paying $300 to $400 to watch Eagles games. So divvy it up. He's basically paying $25 a game. 20 to $25 a game. 25 times 16 was 400. So, do a little math. I mean, $20 and,
for a good team, it's really times about 11 though. 12.
Right, because they're on prime time. So you're paying 30 to 40 bucks a game.
That's really more accurate.
So that's kind of what I'm wondering here. Like, if the time were to ever come where you're offering a la carte, what would the price have to be? Because if you're rooting for a bad team, they only have 1, maybe 2 games, so you got to buy 15 of them. Well, 15 times 20 is 300. So I would think the minimum price, but then again, like you said, the good teams, they're going to be on prime time 5-6 times. So you're buying 11 games.
Well, here, let's just pick a bad team with a great fan base all over the country. It's very easy. The Cleveland Browns. They have a tremendous fan base. It doesn't matter what corner of the country you go to, there's a Browns bar. Right. They've been bad for forever. What would a Browns fan pay? And what would you have to charge? To me, the charge has got to be at least half of what it already is.
Oh, yeah.
$150 to $200 is kind of where my head's been for this the whole time.
Oh, no, I thought actually it had to be higher. I thought it had to be a minimum $250. If I'm the NFL, I'm not, like you said, you got most people that are paying the $400 and they're really only doing it for one team. So I don't want to give them much of a discount. I just want to maybe take into the fact of how many people go, I can't keep paying $400. Well, what about $250? And you can just watch your, $15 a game times 17 is $255.
And what you're doing ultimately is killing the sports bar once again.
No doubt.
Just killing it. Because you could argue you'd save a hell of a lot of money getting a package and staying at home and watching the games. Now, you don't have the same camaraderie. You probably have people that you go to wherever your Browns bar, your Steelers bar, your Lions bar, and you see those people for 17 Sundays a year, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be like 20. The more I think about it, I think it'd have to be at least $20 a game.
Which doesn't really change the price all that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's $340, right? Well, but like you said, but in theory, if it's per game and I get 4 primetime games and what have you, so in theory, I'm only paying $260.
Well, and I don't think it would be that. I think it would just be an a la carte. You want to buy a team, it's going to be X number of dollars.
So like $250. Boom. Would you do it if you were the league?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
No. I wouldn't do it if I was YouTube TV. This is going to work for them. I mean, think about the people. Think about the percentage of our listening audience that is going to get YouTube TV in the next couple of months. I think it's pretty damn high. I mean, I know for a fact I'm dumping DirecTV and I'm going to have YouTube TV. It's for the Sunday ticket. The only reason I had DirecTV sucks. There's nothing about it that I like. But it's where Sunday ticket was.
There you go. Okay. What do you think happens first? A la carte for a specific NFL team or the Super Bowl's pay-per-view?
Super Bowl's pay-per-view.
Well, we're locked into an 11-year contract here. So it's not going to be at least for 11 years because it's already been divvied out to the networks. But I'm wondering about the next deal.
People are freaking out driving right now. Every time you mention Super Bowl and pay-per-view, it just gets people honked off.
I'd pay $100. I'd go $99, $100
for the Super Bowl.
I would. Yeah. Am I really not going to watch the Super Bowl?
No, you're going to watch it. We're all going to watch it. That's a pretty good price.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Logic, man. If I was FAU, I'd be emailing you for about 2 years.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes until the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Sometimes you and I have said something, and it's not that it's a flippant comment. It's just a short comment near the end of a segment. And it elicits quite a lot of reaction. And I just said, I'd pay $100 to watch the Super Bowl. I mean, to me, it seems like, yeah, I've been all in on the whole I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. What the heck? Whew. Man, you know how we ask every year, so who are the people who don't watch the Super Bowl?
Apparently anybody that would have to pay $100 for it, David.
I'll tell you, just found out who apparently didn't watch the Chiefs and the Eagles. Got to admit, you missed a good game.
Did love the one text we got, not so much about the Super Bowl. We were talking about what you'd pay a week to watch your team. Guy says, I grew up in D.C. I'd pay $25 a week not to see the Command.
But I'm bum. I'd pay $25 a week for Snyder to officially sell. By the way, there's kind of whispers that he's getting cold feet, or he's just
not enough money, whatever the case may be.
Right, not $6 billion, not enough money.
It's never enough, David.
Okay,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's you sold your house a year later, that house is worth $100,000 more. You're going, why did I sell it then? It's just the nature of the beast.
Well, they're threatening to air your dirty laundry. That's why you're selling. And listen, you don't want to sell it to Bezos. He'll give you more. You don't want to sell it to him. You're going to have to, Dan. Now just hear this. Settle for $6 billion.
The other thing that I think we learned a little bit, and I don't think it's all fans, but it certainly is some fans that take losses so hard that they can't watch their team play. They can't watch another football game after their team gets bounced from the playoffs. That there are those that take it that hard.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've sat there kind of numb the next week, if you know what I mean. When my team's been bounced. If the Rangers go on a deep run, like when they did last year, they made it to the conference finals and the Lightning took them out. Okay, yeah, I watched Colorado and Tampa Bay, but I have to admit, I had a little more enthusiasm for the Lightning in the finals in the 2 previous years.
Hey, as much as I wanted FAU to win when they were playing Kansas State, I'm watching that game going, really? Really? That can't be my Spartans right now? They had it, and they let that one slip away.
Exactly. So I get it. I do.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 36 today. The Red Wings win their first Stanley Cup championship, taking down the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who else would it be losing the Stanley Cup?
Well, there weren't a whole lot of choices as to who it could be.
I know, but it's just fun to take a little shot at the Leafs. We're getting close to the playoffs again, and Leafs fans are already starting to panic.
Good reason.
1961, Dylan makes his first appearance in Greenwich Village. Warren Spahn wins his 328th game today in 1963. It was the most by a left-hander in Major League Baseball history. 65, Nicklaus wins the second of 6 Masters, beating Gary Player and Arnold Palmer by a record 9 shots at the time, 17 under for Nicklaus.
And what's fascinating is he wins his 3rd Masters the very next year at, I believe, Mark, 1 over par. So one year he wins it at 17 under. That record stood all the way to Tiger. The next year he won it, I believe, at 1 over. Same course, same time of year.
Well, and he won it today, the very next year, on a Monday playoff. An 18-hole playoff with Tommy Jacobs and Gabe Brewer. Sinatra records Strangers in the Night tonight in 66. would be number 1 on the charts. Let It Be by the Beatles goes number 1 today in 1970. In 76, Ray Floyd wins his only Masters. 8 ahead of Crenshaw.
Should have won in 90. Late bogey, got Faldo in the playoff.
82, Stadler wins his Masters in a sudden death playoff over Dan Pohl. Seve the next year wins his second Masters.
And final Masters, hit 3 British, 2 Masters.
Today in 1989, the first playoff goal ever scored by a goalie, Ron Hextall of the Flyers. 93, Longer wins his second green jacket.
Maybe the most pointed comments ever made by an announcer during a Masters broadcast. Ken Venturi. Longer's being chased by Chip Beck. Beck's either 2 or 3 behind him. They go to 15. And Longer knocks Beck's up first. And he lays up. And Ken just blurts out, well, he's obviously playing for second place. On a Masters broadcast? Those are strong words.
Well, Venturi was the one guy that could say basically whatever the hell he wanted. Olazabal wins his second Masters today in 99. Mickelson gets his first major title in 04, beating Ernie Els by a shot. 2010, Mickelson would win his third green jacket. And it was in 2021 when Hideki Matsuyama becomes the first Japanese male to win a golf major, beating Zalatoris by a shot. Those celebrating birthdays today. Not a big birthday day. But Ethel Kennedy's 95, Brett Saberhagen's 59, Trevor Linden's 53 rather, and Trot Nixon's 49. Basically because I wanted to say Trot Nixon today.
It's a great baseball name, isn't it?
It really is a great baseball name. Did I miss anything, David?
Cher won her Oscar for Moonstruck today. Which, of course, think about her slapping Nicolas Cage. Snap out of it. That's it.
It's time for someone to take. It's time.
Whoa. Starting to hit wrong buttons here. It's been a long day. Try that again.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Brush fires took over Bonita Springs over the weekend. But the Providence Equestrian Center was in deep trouble when the community came to help out and got 38 horses out as the fires were taking over the farm. Great job by everybody that helped out there. For the bad, we'll stay in Southwest Florida, where Fort Myers neighbors are fed up with loud music and trash piling up. But it's all happening behind a house that's tarped, where it looks as if a camp is set up behind. The owners are allowing it. The neighbors are irate. They voiced their concerns, but are remaining anonymous because they're fearing retributions from the blaring music that's been set up in a camp in someone's backyard. I could only imagine you, David, that one of your neighbors is allowing people to camp in their backyard and they're just blaring music at all hours of the night, how you would handle that.
I'd get arrested daily. No, daily. I would just say, can you let me out? I got to do a show.
You guys got Wi-Fi here?
Hold on a second, Mark. They're letting me out of my cell.
Little car racing for the ugly as a Mustang and a Corvette go at it in Naples, doing 120. The problem is they got caught. And after doing 120 in a drag race, all the 18-year-old Francisco Rodas could do was giggle after he had been arrested. Good news, street racers find it funny to do 120 on Pine Ridge Road in Naples. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 11th, 2023.
Well, the Rays go for 11-0 tonight, baby. Sending Shane McClanahan to the hill for the third time this year. He's their ace. Hosting the Red Sox. What's it like? Minus 195 on the Rays? Something like that. Basically 2-1. Rays looking for 11 in a row, which would tie the second longest win streak in franchise history.
How about that?
Marlins are in Philly for the second game in that series. There is one nationally televised baseball game tonight. Padres Mets on TBS. I guess they're doing a Tuesday night baseball thing. I can't imagine that's going to do well. Do you?
It's difficult for me to imagine any national baseball game doing anything. I mean, that's a lot of money you're paying to have maybe 1 million people watch something.
Oh, wow. I'll bet you TBS would be thrilled with 1 million. But you're right. Like last night, you would have gotten Scherzer and Darvish. Tonight, you're getting, two guys who are not nearly as sexy a matchup. I mean, David Peterson's the Mets pitcher, for goodness sakes. Hockey tonight. The Lightning are hosting the Leafs. Now, Toronto played hard last night in Florida, won in overtime 2-1. So this is second of back-to-back for the Leafs, and we all know these teams are playing one another next week in the playoffs. How hard do you think either team goes at it tonight?
I don't think that hard.
In fact, I'll throw this out there. I wonder how many of the star Leafs players don't even play tonight.
Well, I'm looking, they're expecting the 2 top goalies for each team to play. Why would you play Vasilevsky if you're Tampa? I'm being serious. Why?
I don't know. And I don't think Toronto, big deal. Toronto comes in and wins. It means anything. They got to win a playoff series. They haven't won one of those in 19 years. They got to win a playoff series. And the Leafs and the Lightning are like, oh, please. We've gone to 3 straight finals. You want us to get excited about playing Toronto last week of the regular season? Let's see them next week. Whatever. The ESPN game is the Leafs and the Lightning, by the way, tonight. See, this is where, what's the biggest game on the schedule tonight? It's Chicago
at Pittsburgh.
Right. That's literally going to determine whether or not teams make the playoffs, including the Penguins.
Even Buffalo, who still has an outside chance to make the postseason against New Jersey's a better game than Leafs Lightning from a standpoint of what's at stake.
Totally. New Jersey a point behind the Hurricanes with 2 to play. New Jersey owns the tiebreaker, by the way. Carolina's at home for Detroit.
Do you know that the Pittsburgh Penguins are minus 530 in that game? 530 for a regular season game. And I know Chicago's awful, but holy cow.
Well, Pittsburgh now knows they win their last 2, they're in. Anything less than that, and they could be kept out. Winnipeg at Minnesota, if the Jets get a point out of that game, they clinch the final wild card out west. And, of course, the NBA play-in. TNT, the doubleheader. One thing if you're a fan of the game, is they're going to start it damn close to 7:30. This is the playoffs now. This is different. They're not filling 8 to 12 minutes at the beginning, and they're saying a Bally Sports thing. This is TNT. Pre-game is going to start at 7. They're going to tip really close to 7:30. And if there's a few of you actually going over, prepare traffic-wise. That game will tip no later than 7:33, we promise. And then the nightcap, of course, Minnesota at the Lakers. We both like the home teams, and we would both lay the points with the home teams. Heat -5, Lakers -8. TNT, the double dip. But if you're looking to go out and do something tonight, FGCU baseball. They're ranked 15th in the country, playing a good FAU team at Swanson Stadium. First pitch at 6:30. And Brian Ellis, the leadoff hitter for the Eagles, has a chance to set an all-time NCAA record for getting on base if he gets on base tonight.
Can I get a beer at an FGCU game?
Yes, you can.
I mean, that's key.
I don't know if they have a beer person who comes through the crowd, but I know that You walk halfway down the first base line where concessions are. Yes, they sell beer.
That's all I need to know. Little FAU, FGCU as Brian Ellis goes for the record tonight. 6:30 start to that one.
So there you go. Nice little Tuesday night for you. Little this, little that. Got a bunch of streaks on the line. The Rays at 10, Brian Ellis at 101, Heat in a play-in. What more you want for a Tuesday in April? Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan at 7 o'clock tomorrow here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here.